Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Jonin Naruto X Kurenai harem. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by adamxero and link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. AN, Author's Notes. Speech Character Voices. Thoughts Character Thoughts. Speech Boss Summon, Demon Voice or Jutsus. Thoughts Boss Summon or Demon Thoughts. AN, Itachi will be 6 when the Kyuubi attacks instead of 4. It was a bright sunny day for the village of Konohagakure. The sounds of birds chirping, children laughing, and the sound of people talking could be heard echoing through the streets. All in all, today was a typical normal day for the peaceful village. Unfortunately for one spiky blonde-haired Jonin, he had been summoned by the Hokage Council for an important meeting. As he was walking through the streets nodding to those who greeted him, he couldn't help but think back to when his life changed drastically 12 years ago. The blonde sighed while looking up at the clouds, still continuing to head to his destination. Flashback. Dusan-Ka-san cried, a 3-year-old blonde desperately looking for his parents. He continued running through the house, checking everywhere until he reached the last room. It was his father's study. He opened the door and saw 2 large figures. One had blonde spiky hair with long bangs and deep blue eyes, the other had long beautiful red hair with clear purple eyes. They were both in their battle uniforms. The blonde had a Jonin vest with a large white cloak with red flames at the bottom. The woman had a Jonin vest too, but she had a large katana strapped on her back. The 2 figures looked towards the door and saw the frightened 3-year-old. Sachi, the red-haired woman said, walking towards the boy. She got on her knees and hugged him. The small blonde quickly wrapped his arms around his mother, crying into her vest. "SSHH, mommy's here, everything's going to be alright." Naru-chan. Naruto quickly calmed down, hiccuping slightly. The sudden appearance of 2 more figures made the large blonde look towards the window ledge. The 2 figures stepped into the light, revealing themselves. One had a goat mask on, while the other wore a Konoha headband on an angle, hiding his left eye. He had spiky gray hair that was also on an angle. He also wore a mask covering his mouth. The goat masked Anbu was the first to talk, however. "Hokage-sama, Kushina-sama, the demon is on its way. It's less than a minute away from the village." The blonde nodded, picking up a pile of Fuinjutsu scrolls and sighed. The large blonde walked towards his son, and like his wife he kneeled down, putting the palm of his hand on his son's head, ruffling his hair and smiling. "Minato-sensei," the gray-haired teenager said, walking towards the trio. "I know Kakashi." Minato started only to be interrupted by the sound of a large explosion. He sighed, "I guess the Kyuubi is already here then, but I can't help but think something's not right here. Why would the Kyuubi randomly attack a village?" Minato thought. Minato then placed his hand underneath Naruto's chin, so he was looking him in the eye. "You're going to be an important ninja, Naruto, one day. One that will make this village proud of you as we are." "Kakashi, take care of Naruto please. I will go meet the fox in a couple of minutes, so stay here with him please," Minato said, tears staining his cheeks. Kakashi nodded his head and walked over towards Naruto, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Hi sensei." Minato looked at his wife, knowing what she was about to do. "You're going to meet it, aren't you?" he asked, looking at the fire in her eyes. She nodded while looking at Naruto. "Naru-chan, mommy's going to be gone for a little while. You be good for Kakashi, remember we love you and will always be proud of you." Kushina finished kissing Naruto's forehead. She walked towards the open window where the Kyuubi was visible and was trampling on buildings with its 9 giant tails waving. Kushina jumped onto the window ledge and gave Naruto one last glance, showing her tear-stained eyes, and blew him a kiss and left in by Shunshin. Minato stood up, taking a deep breath, and left in a yellow flash. Naruto stood terrified at the sight of the 9-tailed demon. As he looked outside the window, a large explosion brought Naruto out of his trance. The explosion was where his mother had gone to. He felt tears flow down his cheeks and fell to his knees. "Ka-san." Naruto shouted, shaking. Kakashi grabbed Naruto and brought him into a hug and pulling his head down so he couldn't see what was happening outside. Naruto's vision suddenly started to become blurry and his head started to spin. He felt his eyes roll into the back of his head. He heard Kakashi shout his name, but he couldn't react as he felt himself lose consciousness. Several hours later. Naruto slowly started to open his eyes, squinting. He saw a white ceiling hospital, Naruto thought, as he remembered being brought there after he had overtrained. He opened his eyes, fully looking around, noticing 3 nurses and tons of flowers and get well cards. He sighed and looked to the left to see who was sitting next to him. He smiled slightly as he saw Kakashi asleep in the chair, his one visible eye closed. Naruto's eyes widened when he realized why Kakashi was here. He began to panic, setting off the alarms on the machine next to him and also waking Kakashi up. Kakashi walked over towards Naruto, putting a hand on his shoulder, successfully calming Naruto. Naruto looked up to Kakashi with a questioning glance. "Naruto, we need to be quiet. The Hokage is about to make a speech to the whole village." Naruto nodded, but was concerned. He had never heard Kakashi call his father the Hokage. He had always called him sensei. Naruto looked out of the window where he could see the top of the Hokage tower. There was 3 figures. He couldn't make out who they were. Then he heard one of the figures speak. People of Konohagakure, tonight the village was attacked by the Kyuubi no Yoko. It has destroyed families and homes and caused great losses, such as Lady Namikaze, also known as Kushina Namikaze. She died sacrificing her life saving the west sector of Konoha. Also lost our beloved fourth Hokage. He died sealing the demon into a newborn baby. The child has saved us all today, the voice said using chakra. To enhance the sound, cries of outrage could be heard as soon as he finished his speech. We must kill the baby, it's the demon, someone screeched, causing roars of approval. Kakashi shook his head at the stupidity of the villagers. Silence all of you, this is how you treat the fourth sacrifice, so be it, but from today on anyone who mentions the Kyuubi being sealed away will be killed. As I hears in Sarutobi have retook the mantle of the Hokage, the Sandaime roared, causing everyone to scatter. Naruto laid back in his bed staring at the ceiling until the door opening made him sit up. There entering his room was the Sandaime and a long white-haired man with red lines under his eyes. It's good to see you up, Naruto-kun. The whole village have been worried about you. I'm sorry for your loss, Naruto-kun. The god of shinobi said, picking up one of the get well cards. Naruto nodded, not quite knowing what to say. Naruto-kun, can I ask you something since I know you heard my speech? Sarutobi asked and continued once he saw Naruto nod. Naruto-kun, can you tell me what you think of the new baby that has the Kyuubi sealed inside him, and will you also become a ninja like your mother and father? Hiruzen asked, getting a surprised look from Naruto. I believe that the baby is just a baby, so I don't hate him, and I will become a ninja, Naruto said, getting a smile from the three older men. And why, Naruto, what is your purpose of becoming a ninja? The Sandaime asked curiously. I want to become a ninja because I want to be able to protect those precious to me, Naruto said the last part with fire in his eyes. Ah yes, that is a very noble reason. The will of fire burns through you, Naruto-kun. Brightly, Naruto, I'd like you to meet someone. His name is Jiraiya and was your father's sensei and also your godfather. Naruto went wide-eyed at the man next to Hokage, who held a smile and walked forwards towards Naruto. It's good to see you again, Gaki. The last time I saw you was when you were in diapers anyway. I have been allowed to stay in the village with you until you make Chuunin, and I will train you in the way of the ninja along with Kakashi, so get some sleep, Tomro. You will be more tired than you have ever been. Jiraiya finished leaving the room with Hokage. Naruto laid back down and started to close his eyes. He still couldn't believe his parents were gone. However, he gulped at Jiraiya's last words. What have I gotten myself into? Naruto thought, drifting off to sleep. End of flashback. Naruto continued his walk towards the Hokage's tower. He was curious to what the council wanted. As he walked, he noticed the empty Uchiha district. He frowned, remembering his best friend. Flashback. The 4-year-old Naruto was walking throughout the streets of Konoha waving at the civilians that greeted him. He frowned inwardly when they called him Naruto-sama or Namikaze-sama. He didn't like it because he felt he hadn't earned the respect yet, but knew they weren't going to stop due to who his parents were, so he continued his walk towards the ninja academy. He was excited because today was the day of his genin exam and he was certain he was going to pass. Naruto walked into the academy and into his classroom. He was rushed by fangirls. Even though he was polite towards them, he would never have an interest in any of them. He continued to walk up the stairs to his chair. He saw the dead last laughing at a prank he had done. Iruka Yamino. His parents were killed in the Kyuubi attack and acted stupid to get laughs and hid his sadness behind his mask. However, Naruto saw right through Iruka's mask and helped him whenever he could. Naruto sat down in his chair next to a black-haired boy who smiled once he saw Naruto, barely being able to sit down due to excitement. I can't help but notice you're little excited, Naruto, the black-haired boy giving Naruto a questioning glance. I'm just excited. After today I will be a real ninja, you know, Naruto said, now serious and waiting for the class sensei to come in. Itachi looked at the boy that was 3 years younger than him in amazement. It was no secret Naruto was as strong as him. He was known as the prodigy of his clan, yet here was a non-Uchiha just as strong. He had watched Naruto train. Naruto would spend all day training and wouldn't stop until he had completely exhausted himself. Yes, Naruto, I do know I am excited too, but I wonder which one of us will get Rookie of the Year, Itachi said, now looking at the door where the class sensei had walked in, causing the students to talk about how they were going to pass and how proud their parents would be. Naruto inwardly frowned. Okay, settle down, we will begin the exam in a couple of minutes. The exam will be set in 2 different parts. The first part will be a test of knowledge, the second part will be a physical test to test your abilities, the third part will be an ninjutsu test, the sensei said, getting looks of confusion from everyone but Itachi and Naruto. The knowledge test was over quickly with only a few people struggling to finish it. The Chuunin sensei came around picking up all the tests and ushering everyone outside to perform the kunai and shuriken test. The test was see how many kunai and shuriken hit the wooden dummy. Naruto scored a perfect 210. He added wind chakra to his kunai, making it stick a few inches deeper into the wooden dummy. Itachi scored 200, hitting every target. The ninjutsu test was to perform 3 standard ninjutsu: Bunshin no Jutsu, Henge no Jutsu and Kawarimi no Jutsu. However, Naruto and Itachi flew through the exam with flying colors. They walked out of the exam room with 2 brand new forehead protectors. Congratulations to all of you who passed, those of you who didn't, don't give up, and maybe you will have better luck next year, the sensei said, walking out of the classroom. Naruto and Itachi looked at each other and smirked. I expect to see you at the finals of the Chuunin exams, Itachi said, leaving us still smiling. Definitely, Naruto thought. End of flashback. The blonde 15-year-old looked up and smiled as he thought of the Chuunin exam finals. Flashback. Would Namikaze, Naruto and Uchiha Itachi come to the arena, the protractor said, getting roars of approval from the entire crowds, making the Hokage and the Tsuchikage deaf for a couple of seconds. A bit loud, aren't they, Hokage Dono, that Tsuchikage asked, but soon saw a smile on the Hokage's face that proved he thought otherwise. Not at all, Tsuchikage Dono, they are just extremely eager to see the prodigy of the Uchiha clan, and the son of Minato, Namikaze, the Sandaime said, and frowned once he saw that Tsuchikage scowl at the mention of Minato Namikaze. Yes, well, if he is anything like his father, the Uchiha will have trouble, that Tsuchikage said, making the old Hokage nod in approval. Naruto, you better be prepared because I'm going all out, a 10-year-old, Itachi said while activating his Sharingan and getting into a fighting stance. I wouldn't have it any other way, a 7-year-old, Naruto said, while also getting into a fighting style and holding out a pair of trench knives that suddenly gained a blue outline on them. Itachi smirked as he looked at the knives with his Sharingans. I see you have mastered your wind affinity, this will only make things more interesting, Itachi said, jumping towards Naruto and going through hand seals Gakakyu no Jutsu, great fireball technique, Itachi shouted, blowing a large fireball out of his mouth that scorched the earth underneath it. Naruto jumped in the air using chakra to enhance the height to avoid the large fireball. He landed behind Itachi and threw the trench knife that was covered in Futon chakra at Itachi. His eyes widened when the knife hit, but they soon narrowed when he saw Itachi explode into a flock of crows. Naruto quickly put his hands together and shouted Kai. Itachi's image faded and Naruto just had enough time to see Itachi come at him with a kunai in hand. He sliced Itachi's kunai in half and also hitting Itachi's hand, causing a large amount of blood to pour out of the wound. Itachi jumped back, his feet sliding across the floor. He looked at the wound and winced. It wasn't life-threatening, but it was still pretty deep and goddamn painful. He jumped into the air again and went through another set of hand seals, ignoring the amount of pain that went into his hand every time he moved it. Garyuka no Jutsu, great dragon fire technique, a giant fire dragon was sent flying towards Naruto at an immense speed. Naruto saw the giant fire dragon and kept his cool and going through a selection of his own hand seals. Ryuden no Jutsu, water dragon projectile technique, a giant water dragon appeared from large pool in the arena and went flying towards the fire dragon. As soon as both jutsus collided, they exploded, causing strong winds to blow around the arena, making the spectators cover their faces. The steam that covered the area left everyone blinded. After a couple of seconds the steam started to clear, the sounds of panting could be heard from within. Everyone stared wide-eyed at sight. Naruto had caught Itachi's fist in his palm, and Itachi had caught Naruto's fist in his palm, and their knees were fighting for supremacy. Itachi swiped Naruto's leg from underneath him, knocking him off balance. Itachi then kicked Naruto in the stomach, sending him back, but Itachi was also sent flying by Naruto's kick that connected to the side of his face. Both fighters skidded across the ground and hitting the sides of the stadium walls. They slowly stood up, their legs barely being able to support them. They ignored the cheers of the spectators and continued to stare at each other. After a couple of seconds they both ran at each other at an extremely fast speed. Even for Jounins, they both launched their fists back and launched them forward. They hit each other at the same time but did not move. Their fists had connected with the other's cheek and had their eye closed on the side where the fist had connected. Both fighters jumped back so they were at least 20 meters away from each other. Both Itachi and Naruto smiled. To think even with my Sharingan I can barely keep up with your speed. It's a shame this fight has to come to an end, but I can tell you now I will win this, Itachi said, all the while still smiling. We'll see, Naruto shouted, running towards Itachi. Itachi's eyes widened when he saw Naruto run at him. How the hell does he have this much energy? I can barely stand up, Itachi thought as he saw Naruto get closer towards him. He quickly went through a number of hand seals. Doryu Hiki Earth-style wall. A giant wall formed in front of Itachi, blocking Naruto's path. Naruto saw the wall and frowned. If I jump over it, I'll waste my chakra and I'll be defenseless. Excellent plan, Itachi, but I still have a lot up my sleeve. You haven't seen. Naruto continued to run at Itachi, however. He started to go through hand seals that caused the ninjas in the arena to widen their eyes. Naruto's hand was suddenly covered with electricity. He thrusted his hand into the earth wall, cracking it instantly. Chidori, Naruto shouted. Itachi's eyes widened when he saw his earth wall begin to crack. He gasped when he saw Naruto's hand pierce the wall like paper. He stood there in shock as he saw the rest of Naruto's body break through the wall. Naruto saw Itachi frozen and smirked. He held out his hand and formed a small blue sphere which caused many of the spectators to mutter Yondaime-sama. Rasengan Naruto shouted, sending the ball of chakra into Itachi's chin, sending him flying across the field. He bounced several times before he stopped. He laid there unmoving, except for his chest moving up and down, showing that he was still alive. Naruto was also struggling. That last Rasengan used up the remaining chakra he had left. His vision had become blurry. He saw Itachi's face had cuts on his eyes and mouth and sported a small burn mark where the Rasengan had connected. His hand was also still bleeding from earlier. The protractor walked into the middle of the arena and looked at Naruto. He had bruises and cuts all over his face and burn marks on his arms, legs and clothes. He looked at Itachi, who was unconscious. Shaosha, Namikaze Naruto. The crowd roared in approval and clapped for the two fighters. The medics ran towards the two. They immediately put Itachi on a stretcher and took him to the hospital. The medics ran towards Naruto to check if he was alright. "Naruto-sama, are you alright?" a young female medic asked. Naruto smiled and nodded. "Yeah, I'm feeling green." Naruto collapsed and fell to the floor face first, but still held a smile on his face. "Man, I can't believe how strong Itachi is. I trained with a Sannin and a Nikki, and I barely won." Naruto thought in amazement before he fell unconscious. End of flashback. Naruto frowned as he continued to walk towards the tower. He missed Itachi. They were like brothers. He smiled at the appearance of two people. One had purple hair. She wore a mesh top and a coat with a high collar. The other was a long black-haired woman. She had beautiful red eyes and wore a red and white bandaged uniform that showed a lot of leg, much to his enjoyment. They were Anko Mitarashi and Kurenai Yuhi. Naruto had developed a crush on Kurenai ever since he first met her. She was everything he wanted in a woman: strong, independent, beautiful and kind. However, he knew her reputation. The Ice Queen of Konoha. He hated when people would call her that. He wasn't surprised that she avoided the male population due to the fact they only wanted her for her body. That didn't mean she didn't have any male friends. She was good friends with himself and Kakashi, but he would never tell her his true feelings as he felt he would be betraying her trust if he did. He smiled, remembering the time Kakashi had took him out to meet the rest of the Jounins when he had become one. Flashback. "Naruto, are you ready?" Kakashi said lazily as he leaned on the wall. After couple of minutes, a 10-year-old Naruto came out of his room with his forehead protector, stopping his hair, covering his eyes. But Kakashi's eye went to what Naruto was wearing. It was his brand new Jounin flak jacket he had gotten. Kakashi's one visible eye widened slightly. "He's looking more like you, sensei, every day," Kakashi thought. Getting his composure back, he pushed himself off the wall, looking sharp at Tauto. "We should get going. I don't want Anko threatening to cut me again." He visibly shivered at the thought. Naruto nodded and followed Kakashi out of the door. Kakashi and Naruto walked into one of the ninja-only bars, walking past a pair of drunk Chuunin that were complaining that they had been on guard duty for 2 weeks running. Naruto did feel sorry for them as he too hated guard duty. It was too easy and boring. They continued walking towards the back of the bar. They finally reached a booth where Anko, Mito Guy, Hana Inyazuka and Kurenai, the four, looked curiously at Kakashi as he was relatively early. "About time, Kakashi. I was about to come looking for you and play a little game I call what doesn't grow back," Anko said, making said Jounin shiver. He sat down next to her, nonetheless pouring himself some sake. However, the rest of the Jounins were looking at Naruto curiously. Hana was the first to voice her opinion, however. "Hey Kakashi, who's the kid? He looks like a little yandere." Kakashi looked at her lazily for a few seconds before answering her. "Ask him," he said, making Kurenai and Hana angry at his laziness. Naruto, however, had not taken his eyes off Kurenai. He was hypnotized by her red eyes. They were the most beautiful things he had ever seen. He was so entranced by Kurenai he hadn't realized that Guy was talking to him. "Hello, my youthful friend, may I ask your name?" Guy shouted, causing many people to sigh. Naruto shook his head, getting himself out of his trance. He turned to Guy, who was giving him a thumbs up and showing his teeth. You say something?" Naruto asked. Guy's jaw dropped to the floor. Kakashi looked on slightly proud. Anko was laughing her ass off, while Kurenai and Hana faulted. However, Guy recovered quickly and pointed an ikasing finger. "Damn you and your hip attitude, Kakashi." Kakashi looked lazily towards Guy. You say something?" Guy fell back into his chair, weeping in I'm-style tears while mumbling something about hip attitude. Anko was now getting fed up. She was extremely curious to who the chibi yandere was, being the straightforward person she was. She asked Yokaki, "Who are you? And why do you look like the yandere?" Everyone faulted at how blunt she was. However, Naruto just scratched his head and smiled sheepishly. "Oh, sorry about that. My name's Naruto Namikaze, and I probably look like the yandere because I'm his son," Naruto said, sitting down next to Kurenai and blushing slightly. He was grateful the booth was slightly dark, which hid his blush from everyone who, except from Kakashi, had their jaw on the floor. "You're Naruto, you must be about 10. How do you have a Jounin jacket?" Anko asked, amazed and also feeling slightly stupid of not guessing he was the yandere's son. Naruto looked at her, slightly surprised before answering, "I have a Jounin vest because I'm a Jounin, just became one today actually." Kurenai looked at Naruto, slightly amazed by the fact he was a Jounin. "You must be really strong for your age to have made Jounin," Kurenai asked, getting a blush from Naruto due to the praise. Thank you Naruto said, not sure what her name was. She caught on quickly and apologized. Oh that's right, I'm sorry, my name is Kurenai Yuhi. These two are called Anko and Hana, and the grown man crying in the corner is Guy, she said, amazed by the fact he was listening to her. The rest of the male population in the village just looked at her body when she was talking. So Naruto, can you tell us what you prefer? Anko started getting raised eyebrows from Kakashi. I meant in jutsu's pervert, she said, hitting Kakashi over the head, and looked at Naruto waiting for an answer. Well, I'm really an all-round type of person. I prefer ninjutsu and taijutsu, but I like fuinjutsu. He saw Anko visibly flinch at the word, however he continued, I'm about average though when it comes to jinjutsu. What about you? He finished looking at Anko, who smirked. Me, I'm amazing at ninjutsu and taijutsu, she said, not giving much away. Guy followed where she had left off. I'm an expert in taijutsu, my youthful friend. Hana, seeing that Guy was finished, also spoke up. I'm proficient in medical jutsu and taijutsu. Kurenai sighed, thinking Naruto was about to laugh at what she specialized in, however she decided to tell him anyway. I'm a jinjutsu expert, she said quickly and sipping some sake. She looked to her side to see Naruto staring at her. She was getting uncomfortable by his gaze on her, which he caught on to surprisingly. Oh, I'm sorry, it's just you're the first jinjutsu specialist I've ever met. I've always found jinjutsu interesting as my best friend is also good at jinjutsu, but that's only because of his eyes. I've never been that good at them, but I do know a few. Naruto finished, getting a complete look of disbelief from Kurenai. Kurenai looked at Naruto with a newfound respect. What, he finds jinjutsu interesting? Usually when I tell people about jinjutsu they don't even care. I think I could become friends with you, Naruto. Kurenai thought as she suddenly smelt the scent of smoke, making her frown, knowing who it was already. A tall figure appeared into the booth. He had spiky black hair, a shapely beard, and it was hanging a cigarette out of his mouth. Hello Kurenai-chan, Hana, Kakashi, Guy. He nodded to each of them and pulled a seat to the table. Hello Asuma, my youthful friend, what brings you here tonight? Guy asked. Just getting a drink before going to bed, Asuma said, getting a snort from Anko. Got something to say, Anko, he said with venom. Anko looked at him, unaffected by his hate. It was no secret that Anko and Asuma hated each other. Anko hated Asuma because he was a pig, in her words, using women and smoking. Asuma hated Anko because she had turned him down for a little fun, as he would call it. He also hated the fact she was with Kurenai, so he couldn't talk to Kurenai alone. He was attracted to Kurenai but always got turned down whenever he asked her out. I do actually. You come over here smoking and then say you only came in for a drink. We all know why you're really here, and believe me, stalking her will not make her go out with you like she would anyway, Anko said, smirking at Asuma's face that was now filled with rage. What would you know, you snake whore? Asuma smirking at Anko's also rage-filled face. Kakashi was also slightly angry and was about to say something until Naruto spoke up. Why do you call her a snake whore, Asuma-san? Naruto asked innocently, getting raised eyebrows from everyone. Asuma stared at Naruto and saw how close he was to Kurenai and snarled a little. What's a little brat like you doing in here, Naruto? Naruto slightly scowled but kept his calm. I'm here because I'm a Jonin. Can you not see the jacket now? Would you please answer my first question? Asuma looked at Naruto's flak jacket and scowled. I guess they'll let anyone be a Jonin. No, the reason people call her snake whore is because she was the apprentice of Orochimaru. Naruto looked at Asuma, a little disgusted. That's it, who cares if she was the apprentice of Orochimaru? She's not him, and I doubt she's a whore, Naruto said with no emotion, startling Asuma a little, but then scoffed. What would you know, you're just a kid, he said. Naruto decided to ignore the comment and continue to talk to Kurenai about jinjutsu. After about half an hour later, Asuma stood up, getting ready to leave. He turned around to face Kurenai. Fancy having a little bit of fun, Kurenai-chan? Since it's your first time I'll make it special, Asuma said, winking at Kurenai, who looked completely disgusted. No Asuma, I don't want to have fun with you, and I never will, so stop wasting my time by asking, she said rather coldly. Asuma stood in shock. This was the first time Kurenai had ever talked to him like that. She had always been polite when turning him down. He looked over towards Anko and saw her laughing loudly. Without thinking, Asuma pulled his trench knives out and dashed towards Anko, startling the group as his Futon-enhanced blades were about to hit Anko. There was a sudden clang that shocked everyone. Naruto had stopped Asuma's blades with his own similar set that were also Futon enhanced. Everyone in the bar had begun to look at the two, however they both glared at each other. Naruto's ocean blue eyes glared at Asuma's coal black. I think you should leave, Asuma-san, Naruto said calmly. Asuma growled a little before noticing everyone in the bar were staring at the two Jonin. He pulled his knives away and looked at Anko, Kurenai, Hana, Guy and Kakashi. I'm sorry for anything I said that offended you. With that, Asuma left the bar, still angry at Naruto. Wow, did you see the Yondame's son stand up to the Sandame's son? A random ninja said, causing everyone to start talking again. Naruto sat down, ignoring the rants off Guy about how youthful he was. Kurenai stared at Naruto for a couple of seconds before sipping her sake again. Anko was laughing and saying Asuma ran off with his tail between his legs. Kakashi and Hana just gave him proud looks. An hour later. Naruto and Kakashi were getting ready to leave the bar. Kakashi had a passed out guy flung over his shoulder. "Good night," the girls shouted, leaving Naruto, Kakashi and an unconscious guy to walk home. Naruto took one last looking, staring at Kurenai and blushing slightly. "Hamatado, you can stare at Kurenai's ass later," Kakashi said, smiling underneath his mask as Naruto blushed heavily, began to walk off muttering, "Pervert, she is beautiful," though Naruto thought while walking home with a smile on his face. End of flashback. "Oh hey you Naruto," Kurenai shouted and waved at Naruto. He blushed slightly and went over to them. "Oh hey you Kurenai-chan, Anko-chan," Naruto said, waving back to them. As he got closer, he saw Anko and Kurenai slightly blush. "You just keep getting taller and taller, Naruto, you're even taller than me now," Kurenai said, making Naruto blush. "And more handsome," Anko added with a smirk. Now Anko-chan, don't give up on Aniki, especially after all the nice things he said about you," Naruto said, looking away with a smirk. He was about to turn back to look at her until he was picked up by the collar by a very feisty looking Anko. "What did that lazy bum say?" Anko said seriously. Naruto gulped. He said he liked how strong and independent you are." Anko looked at Naruto for a couple of seconds before smirking. "So the lazy bastard does care. I'll show him just how strong and independent I can be." Anko then started running down the street, knocking people over. "Kurenai, remember what I said earlier, you need to get laid or you will die a virgin," Anko shouted while turning the corner. Kurenai turned a bright red as everyone in the street was now staring at her. She was about to run away until she felt a hand on her shoulder. She looked up and saw Naruto smiling at her. "Don't be embarrassed, Kurenai-chan, you're not the only one," Naruto said, making her smile and nod. "So what are you doing up so early, Kurenai-chan?" Naruto asked, getting another smile from Kurenai. "Oh yeah, I nearly forgot, I went to see Hokage-sama to see who was on my Jonin team," Kurenai answered. "Oh yeah, I forgot you wanted the Hyuga heir on your team, Hinata, right? Did you get a?" Naruto asked, not realizing they were still stood in the middle of the street. "I also got Hana's brother Kiba and Shino Aburam," Kurenai said, making Naruto smile. "Hey Kurenai-chan, I don't mean to sound rude, but I have to go to a meeting with the council, but after that do you want to go get some breakfast with me?" Naruto asked, blushing. Kurenai fake pouted and then smiled again. "Fine, but you're paying," she said, also blushing slightly. Naruto nodded and said his goodbyes and began to walk towards the tower again. Council room. Naruto walked into the council room where he was immediately met with smiling faces. The Hokage spoke up, grabbing Naruto's attention. "Ah, Naruto-kun, it's good to see you again. You're looking more like your father every day. I'd like to just talk to you, but you have been giving a very important mission." Naruto nodded, giving the signal for the Hokage to continue. "Naruto-kun, you will become a Jounin sensei for this year's Genin. 2 of your students have already been decided, however the third is up to you," Hiruzen said while handing Naruto a file. Naruto started reading the files, his eyes widened when he read the names. "You're giving me the Uchiha heir, why shouldn't Hada Kakashi train him since he has Sharingan as well?" Naruto asked, getting smiles from most of the civilian side and frowns from the clan sides, the Hokage side. "Yes, some of us also thought that Kakashi-kun would be better suited to train the Uchiha, but others did not agree with us. You were chosen as you have the ability to teach them useful jutsus," the Sandaime said while glancing at the civilian side. However, Naruto knew exactly what he was saying. "So they want me to teach the Uchiha Hiraishin no Jutsuha like I would teach him that," Naruto thought before remembering something. "You said there was still one spot open on my team, right? Can I look at the file with the genin who do not have a team?" Yet Hiruzen passed Naruto another file, to which Naruto immediately started flicking through the pages before eventually stopping and smiling. "I found my third student," Naruto said, throwing the file on the table, making sure everyone could see who it was. "You can't be serious, Naruto-kun, you want to train that demon?" A pink-haired woman screeched. Naruto frowned. "How can they think he is the Kyuubi?" Naruto thought as he saw the civilian side's faces full of disgust over the Jinchuriki. "Why should we allow you to train the demon Namikaze?" An old man wrapped in bandages asked. Naruto's eyes narrowed at the man. "I believe training the Jinchuriki will be beneficial for the village," Naruto answered, waiting for the man to reply. "Yes, you make a good point, however what if the demon escapes?" the man asked. Naruto thought for a couple of seconds before answering. "The demon will not escape, as I will be able to suppress the demonic chakra with Fuin Jutsu. Also, when Sasuke activates his Sharingan, he will be able to also control the demonic chakra within the Jinchuriki." The council all began muttering and whispering. Eventually the Hokage stood up. "Okay, Naruto-kun, you will be the Jounin sensei of Team 7, which now consists of Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura, Kazama Takashi. Be ready to pick your team up in an hour from the academy." Naruto nodded and left by Shunshin. Appearing outside the tower, he began walking through the streets, looking for Kurenai. "God damn it, why do I have to babysit brats? At least if Kurenai's doing it won't be too bad," Naruto thought as continued to walk. Chapter 2. AN, Author's Notes. Speech Character Voices. Thoughts Character Thoughts. Speech Boss Summon, Demon Voice or Jutsus. Thoughts Boss Summon or Demon Thoughts. Naruto walked down the very crowded street where the people were getting ready to open their stores. He greeted a few civilians who bid him good morning, but his mind was set on something else, or to be more precise someone else. He was looking for Kurenai so they could get some breakfast before they met their Jonin team. As he walked past the dango store he had a glimpse of black and red. He smiled as he saw Kurenai walking towards him. She was wearing her usual red and white bandaged outfit with a Jonin flak jacket on top. She smiled once she saw Naruto. "Hey Kurenai-chan," Naruto said as he walked towards her. "You ready to get some breakfast?" he asked with a blush. "Hi, but you're paying, remember you owe me for ditching me," she said, fake pouting. Naruto looked on in disbelief. 1 minute she could be so serious, the next so playful. He liked that she wasn't so serious and could be herself around him. "Oh, I'm sorry, forgive me Kurenai-chan, that damn council always bugging me. Come on, let's go get some dango. I'm certain you want to hear all about the council meeting. I can tell you do by the look on your face," Naruto said as he and Kurenai walked into the dango store, getting curious looks by most of the people. Naruto and Kurenai slightly blushed at the attention they were receiving. They went to the counter and ordered 10 dango sticks each. After collecting their order, they both went to look for an empty table to sit down at. When they sat down, Kurenai looked at Naruto with a questioning glance, and she asked as she saw Naruto choke. She began to giggle as she saw Naruto pour a whole jug of water down his mouth. "Oh right, yeah, the council, damn it Naruto, you have to calm down, it's just breakfast," he saw Kurenai nod while eating a dango stick. A slight blush appeared on his god. That's sexy, he thought when he saw her eat the dango stick slowly. He quickly willed his blush away so he could tell her his new position. "Well Kurenai-chan, looks like I am going to be Jounin-sensei too. You were lucky though, you got to pick 2 of your choices," Naruto mumbled, causing a wide-eyed expression from Kurenai that soon turned into a full-blown laugh. "Ahahaha, what are they thinking, you'll end up killing the Jonin for being too loud," Kurenai said while laughing. Naruto pouted a little. "Oh come on, I'm not that bad. Besides I reckon you're just worried that my team's going to be better than yours," Naruto finished with a smirk when he heard Kurenai slightly growl. "You want to bet?" Kurenai said through gritted teeth. Naruto nodded and smiled at how easily angry he could get her. Kurenai stood up and pointed at Naruto. "Alright mister, you have a bet, what are the stakes?" Naruto gulped at and blushed slightly. How about whosever team gets past the first round of the Chuunin exam wins?" Naruto asked, getting a quick nod from Kurenai and continued, "If I win you have to, you know what I'll tell you if I win," Naruto said, blushing. "I'm an idiot. I could have used the bet to ask her out," Naruto thought while looking at Kurenai, who had her eyebrows raised. "Okay, and what if I win?" Kurenai asked seriously. Naruto got into a thinking pose for a couple of seconds before answering. "Alright, so if you win I will teach you one of my most precious jutsus," Naruto said, earning a wide-eyed Kurenai. She narrowed her eyes straight away. "Okay, who have you got on your team?" Naruto was about to answer before the sound of an unwanted guest interrupted him. "You want to know who Naruto's got? I'll tell you, my father told me you picked the dead last." "What's the matter?" "Picking the worst student so your teaching won't look so bad," Asuma said as he walked into the dango store while smirking. Naruto narrowed his eyes at Asuma. "Unlike you Asuma, I don't care what people think of me. I picked Kakashi because everyone deserves a chance despite their status," Naruto said while standing up and glaring. "Not everyone cares about themselves." Asuma glared at Naruto and put his hands near his trench knife holders ready to remove the blades. Naruto also put his hands near his trench knife waiting for Asuma to make his move. "Whatever, I don't care what you think," Asuma said, bending his knees slightly. Naruto also bended his knees and was about to lunge when he heard a voice that made him stop. "Stop it both of you." Kurenai stood up, standing between them. She glared at Asuma, causing him to back off a little. "I suggest you leave Asuma," Kurenai said coldly. Asuma was taken back a little by the coldness in her voice, however he looked at Kurenai. "I'm sorry for ruining your breakfast, Kurenai-chan," he said, hoping she would forgive him, but inwardly he didn't care, since he was only interrupting the time Naruto was hanging out with her. "Just go," she said, pointing towards the exit of the dango store. Asuma nodded and shunshined away. Kurenai turned around and began to walk towards Naruto. I'm sorry." Naruto was interrupted by Kurenai, who had leaned up and kissed Naruto on the cheek and kept herself in that position for several seconds before letting go, leaving a heavily blushing Naruto and an also slightly blushing Kurenai. The others in the store were either whistling or glaring at Naruto for getting a kiss from the extremely beautiful Kunoichi. Naruto began to stutter his words, trying to find the right words. He was stopped by Kurenai. "That was for helping Takashi. I know you didn't pick him as your student for the reason," Asuma said. "I'm glad you picked him. It would have broken Hinata's heart if Takashi hadn't become a ninja," Kurenai said, still holding a slight blush from kissing Naruto on the cheek in front of everyone. Naruto looked stunned for a second before speaking his mind. "I'm glad you believe me. It's the least I could do for the kid, since it was my father that pretty much ruined his life. He deserves a break every now and then, but why would Hinata be so affected?" Naruto asked, completely confused. Kurenai smiled at Naruto's question. Hinata has a huge crush on Takashi. She admires his never give up attitude. She's possibly the only girl I can think of at the academy that isn't a fawning over the Uchiha, Kurenai said, but looked slightly confused when he saw Naruto bang his head off the table. Naruto, are you alright? She asked, noticing everyone was staring at the two. Naruto threw her the file he had been given off the council. Kurenai began to read it, but became wide-eyed at what she was reading. Oh my god, how could they do this to you? Naruto giving you the Uchiha's biggest fangirl, and Takashi's crush. Naruto began to bang his head even more when he found out that Takashi liked Sakura. Stupid. Naruto continued to bang his head off the table. Listen Naruto, it's not that bad. I mean, I believe you will be able to make these three respectable ninjas, but what I want to know is why they are letting you teach the Uchiha Shogun Kakashi, since he already had the Sharingan. Naruto looked at her seriously, as he too remembered asking the exact same question. Yes, that's what I thought as well, but according to them I have better jutsus to teach. However, I do believe the council have got Iniki to give Sasuke extra training, Naruto said, getting a complete look of disgust from Kurenai. So they expect you to teach the Uchiha the Harashin no Jutsu? Kurenai asked, getting a nod from Naruto, making her scowl even more at the council. I know how you feel, Kurenai-chan. The council may have become more powerful since Toussaint died, but I'd rather become a missing nin than teach that jutsu to someone who isn't family, Naruto said, getting a nod from Kurenai. Good for you, Naruto. I feel the same. That's your family's technique. You shouldn't be forced to teach someone, Kurenai asked while glancing at the clock. She gasped when she saw the time. Naruto, we should go. We wouldn't want to be late now, would we? She asked, getting a smile and a nod from Naruto. Yeah, I don't want Iniki's reputation, Naruto said while walking out of the dango store with Kurenai. As they were walking towards the academy, Kurenai kept giving Naruto several glances to which he noticed and sighed. Go on, he said, making her smile. Since you have Takashi on your team, would you give him the right push? You know, towards Hinata for me, she asked, giving him a puppy dog eyes. Naruto sighed in defeat. No matter what, that was the only jutsu known that would work on Naruto. However, it was lucky that only Kurenai knew this. She had promised to keep it a secret. Once she saw how affected Naruto was when she used it, she called it her secret weapon against Naruto. Fine, but only for Yao. You do realize that the Hyuga clan will not take lightly on this, because for some reason they believe I will agree to a political marriage to Hinata, even though I have said no at least 1,000 times. I mean seriously, if I'm going to marry someone, it will be someone I love, you know, Naruto said while walking down the busy morning street of Konoha. He stopped walking as soon as he felt something wet on his cheek. He looked to his side and saw Kurenai kissing his cheek again. Sweet, this must be what heaven feels like, Naruto thought while turning bright red. Kurenai was also bright red due to the fact she was kissing Naruto again on the cheek right in front of everyone. She hadn't known what had came over her, but at that moment she wanted to kiss Naruto, even if it was only on the cheek. Thank you, Naruto, for agreeing to help Hinata. You don't know how much it means to me that you would do this for me, she asked, generally happy that Naruto would help her without mentioning something in return. Naruto blushed even brighter if it was possible as he walked, muttering the words women under his breath, making Kurenai giggle that she had this effect on him. Academy. Iruka Yamino was standing at the front of the classroom, looking at the new set of genin in front of him with pride. He had taught most of the clan heirs. However, when he looked at Takashi he couldn't help but feel proud of him. At first, like the rest of the village, he thought Takashi was the reincarnation of the Kyuubi, but after watching Takashi and talking to both Naruto and the Sandaime, he found out that he was just a little boy who was lonely and played pranks on the village as a sign of recognition. Iruka smiled at the thought. He reminds me of myself at his age. Iruka walked towards his desk, ignoring the questions of where Mizuki had gone. He frowned at the traitor. If it wasn't for Takashi he would have been killed. Iruka picked up the files on his table. He looked up to begin talking until he realized that everyone was talking, and ignoring him a vein appeared on his head. Shut up all of you and sit down, Iruka shouted using the big head no jutsu, making everyone run towards their seats. Iruka smiled again once he saw everyone sat down. Okay, today you will be put on a 4-person team which will include 3 genin and 1 jounin sensei. The teams are. Iruka started. Iruka turned the next page and gasped at what he was seeing. Naruto sensei. Never saw that coming. He smiled at the thought of seeing his old friend. Team 7 will be Kazama Takashi, Haruno Sakura. Iruka was about to continue until Takashi started jumping up and down in his annoying orange clothing, while Sakura hung her head. Takashi, sit down. Takashi quickly sat down, still excited. As I was saying, Team 7 will be Kazama Takashi, Haruno Sakura and Uchiha Sasuke. He was about to continue before Sakura started screeching at Ino. Take that, Ino pig, true love conquers all. Iruka gained a vein above his eyebrow again. Sit down, Sakura, and let me finish. Sakura sat down again, apologizing as well. Your jounin sensei will be Namikaze. Naruto. Iruka finished getting wide eyes from everyone in the class. Takashi stood up and asked the question everyone else was wondering. Namikaze, as in the 4th Hokage type. Namikaze. Iruka nodded before explaining yes, Takashi. Naruto is the son of the fourth Hokage. Iruka began to continue despite the state of shock his students were in learning about the fourth Hokage's son, training a genin team. Teammate will be Inyazuka Kiba, Aburama Shino and Hyuga Hinata. Your Jounin sensei will be Kurenai Yuhi. Iruka finished getting a nod from Shino, a happy smile from Hinata, and a smirk from Kiba. Team 10 will be Yamanaka Ino, Nara Shikamaru and Akimichi Chouji. Your Jounin sensei will be Sarutobi Asuma. Okay, that's all the team's done, so just wait here until they pick you up. Iruka finished ignoring Ino's moaning that she wasn't on her Sasuke-kun's team. After 10 minutes the door opened revealing Asuma. He looked around spotting the Ino Shikacho group. Team 10 follow me, he said walking outside the room quickly being followed by the 3 genin. As he walked down the corridor he saw 2 figures. He frowned when he spotted them, but he stopped to greet them for the sake of the genin. Hello Kurenai-chan Naruto, he said in neutral tone, but was inwardly fuming over the fact Naruto was spending so much time with Kurenai. Naruto and Kurenai looked at Asuma and saw 3 kids behind him. Hello Asuma, these must be your genin, Kurenai said in a calm voice. She smiled at the 3 genin. Yeah, you should go pick up your genin teams, you don't want to be late, Asuma said. Kurenai looked at Naruto for a second before turning to Asuma. We're not late, you're just early, Kurenai said with a smile causing Naruto to chuckle. Asuma frowned a little. Anyway, I guess we should be going, Kurenai-chan, Naruto said, ignoring the slight growl Asuma gave. Kurenai nodded and began to walk towards the classroom with Naruto. Asuma looked towards his genin team and saw Chouji eating a packet of crisps. Shikamaru was looking at Naruto with raised eyebrows, and Ino was drooling while looking at Naruto. Who is that, Asuma-sensei? Ino asked. Asuma sighed knowing who she was on about. That Ino is Naruto Namikaze, Asuma said, getting a shocked expression from Ino before she scowled. Damn forehead, getting Sasuke-kun on her team and having Naruto-kun as her sensei. Asuma sighed and continued to walk. Troublesome, Shikamaru muttered as he followed Asuma. Naruto looked at the classroom door for a second, hesitating slightly. He turned around when he felt a hand on his shoulder. Kurenai was giving him a warm smile. While don't worry Naruto, you're going to do great. Naruto nodded and smiled. Thank you, Kurenai-chan, Naruto said as he opened the door. The rest of the genin were all waiting patiently except Takashi. Where is he? Takashi whined, getting a sigh from Iruka. Takashi, it is still early, have some patience, Iruka said, getting defeated nod from Takashi. Meanwhile Sasuke was brooding in the corner, thinking about the new Jounin sensei that was going to be training him. This Naruto must be powerful. If he was chosen to train me, the council would have made sure of that. But why don't I know anything about him? Iruka sensei will know something about him, Sasuke thought while standing up. Iruka sensei, what can you tell us about Naruto Namikaze? Sasuke asked, getting a surprised look from everyone. Well, Sasuke Naruto is one of the strongest Jounin in the village, only rivaled by Hada Kakashi. He graduated from the academy at the age of 4 and became a Chuunin at age 7. He finally became a Jounin at the age of 10. Iruka finished getting complete widening of eyes from everyone. Sasuke sat back down with a smirk on his face. Good, I need a strong sensei to defeat him, Sasuke thought, rage building inside of him over the thought of his older brother. The door slowly opened revealing 2 figures. Naruto and Kurenai walked into the room looking around. Kurenai saw Hinata and smiled. She saw Shino looking at her through his shades. Finally she looked at Kiba, who was giving her lustful looks. She sighed, looks like I'm going to have to beat the pervertedness out of him. Naruto also looked around and saw Sasuke staring at him. Wow, he looked so much like Itachi. He turned his gaze towards the female of his new team. Sakura was giving him the same looks. Ino was drooling slightly onto her table. Ah, fangirls. Finally Naruto looked at Takashi, who was smiling. He seemed so happy, but I can see through that mask. Takashi, Naruto thought as he walked towards Iruka. Oh hey Iruka, Naruto said as he walked over to Iruka and smiled. It's good to see you again, Naruto. I never thought you would pick up a genin team, Iruka said smiling. Naruto was about to speak again, but Sakura interrupted. Wait, this is Naruto Namikaze, but he doesn't look that much older than us, she screeched, getting a frown from both Iruka and Kurenai. Show some respect, Sakura. Naruto may be young, but he is strong. He even beat Uchiha Itachi in the final round of the Chuunin exams, Iruka said. Naruto smiled at his old friend as did Kurenai. She looked at her genin squad before speaking. Meet me at training ground 8 in 10 minutes, she said, sunshining away. Naruto smiled before looking up to the last 3 genin. Meet me on the roof in 5 minutes, Naruto said, disappearing in a yellow flash, leaving the 3 genin and Iruka stunned. I can't believe he finally learned it, Iruka said with a smirk. Learned what, Iruka-sensei? Takashi asked while running his hand through his long brown hair. Iruka looked at Takashi with confusion until he remembered Takashi not being in the lesson when they learnt about the 4th Hokage's techniques. That Takashi was the Hiraishin no Jutsu, the jutsu that gave the Yondaime. Minato Namikaze, the moniker Kano has yellow flash, Iruka said, causing the 3 genin's eyes to widen. You better hurry up, Naruto does not like waiting, Iruka said walking out of the room. Sasuke stood up running towards the door. He beat Itachi. He can tell me how he did it, Sasuke thought as he began to run up the stairs, quickly followed by Takashi and Sakura. Naruto was on top of the academy roof leaning over the rail watching the village. He smiled at how peaceful the village was. The sound of the door to the roof flying open made Naruto turn around. You were nearly late, Naruto said while smiling at a panting Sasuke, Kakashi and Sakura. Alright, before we go into introductions, do any of you have any questions? Naruto asked looking at the all too eager faces the three genin were holding. Sasuke walked closer towards Naruto. How did you beat him? Sasuke asked looking at Naruto with pleading eyes. Naruto looked at Sasuke. He couldn't help but feels sorry for him, poor kid. Itachi must have really done a number on you. I beat him through training hard and never giving up, Naruto said getting a slight scowl from Sasuke. Sakura was next to voice her opinions. Are you really our sensei? I mean, how old are you? Naruto frowned at the question. Yes, I am your new sensei, and I am 15 years old, Naruto answered getting wide eyes from the three. Sakura looked impressed at Naruto at the thought he was Jonin sensei at the age of 15. Jonin sensei at 15, he must be strong. I bet Sasuke-kun is stronger, Sakura thought staring dreamily at Sasuke. Naruto sighed, regretting what he was about to do next. Okay, let's start off with some introductions. Tell us what your likes and dislikes are, and also your dream. The three genin looked at Naruto in confusion. Naruto-sensei, why don't you go first? Sakura said getting aside. Okay, your turn, Pinky. Sakura scowled, but continued anyway. My name is Sakura Haruno. My likes are, she looks at Sasuke. My dislikes are Ino Pig and Takashi Baka. And my dream is, looks at Sasuke again. Naruto sweat dropped to think this is what most young kunoichi are like now. Okay, you big eyes, Naruto said pointing at Takashi who also scowled at the nickname. My name is Takashi Kazama. My likes are Sakura-chan, Raymond, and Jiji. Naruto smiled at the Hokage's personal nickname. He continued to listen to Takashi. My dislikes are people who judge me without knowing me and Sasuke team. My dream is to be acknowledged by the village and become the strongest Hokage ever. Takashi finished with fire in his eyes. Naruto smiled and looked towards Sasuke. Okay, now you greedy. Sasuke glared at Naruto before speaking. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I hate a lot of things, and I don't particularly like anything. What I have is not a dream, because I will make it a reality. I'm going to rebuild my clan and kill a certain person. Sasuke finished glaring at nothing in particular. Naruto sighed. Itachi, you really messed up, Sasuke. Okay, meet me at training ground 7 tomorrow, and don't be late. Naruto finished disappearing in a yellow flash. Hey Sasuke-kun, want to go on a date with me? Sakura asked blushing. No, he responded coldly walking away. Sakura-chan, I'll go. Oh, Takashi started but stopped by the sudden punch on his head. No, Takashi Baka. Sakura walked off fuming over Sasuke's rejection. Naruto appeared in the Jonin lounge in a yellow flash. He walked over to Anko and Kurenai who were already talking. God, I don't think they could have gave me a more difficult team, Naruto said as he fell into the chair. Anko and Kurenai giggled at Naruto. Kurenai put her hand on Naruto's shoulder causing him to blush. Don't worry, Naruto, I'm sure you'll be an excellent sensei. Naruto smiled and nodded at Kurenai. You're right, especially considering I'm going to win that bet, Naruto said making Kurenai smile. We'll see, Kurenai said while sipping her sake. Anko looked at the two in confusion. She had known Naruto and Kurenai were good friends, but what they were doing was borderline flirting. Anko grinned at the thought. Oh, Nai-chan. Kurenai looked over towards Anko while taking another sip of sake. So when are you and Naruto going to? Kurenai blinked for a couple of seconds before Anko's words sunk in. She spat her sake all over the table and went completely bright red. She looked at Naruto, who was the exact shade of color she was showing. WWH, what you mean, Anko-chan? Kurenai asked trying to play innocent. Anko smiled at her friend. Oh, I was just wondering when you two were going to lose your virginities to each other. Naruto and Kurenai went even brighter red this time. What, me and Naruto are just friends? Kurenai shouted at Anko, making her laugh insanely. Sure, keep telling yourself that, Nai-chan, Anko said sipping some of her own sake. Naruto, seeing how out of hand this could get, decided to intervene. So Kurenai-chan, what were your genin like? Naruto asked getting a sigh from Kurenai. Well, Shino barely talks, Kiba is totally hormonal, and Hinata, she is still too shy. Oh, by the way, are you pushing Takashi in the right direction? Kurenai asked, glad that Naruto had changed the subject. Not yet, but I will add a little comment there, and then, by the way Sakura treats him, it won't be long before he finds Hinata, Naruto said getting a smile from Kurenai. Thank you, Naruto-kun, Kurenai said quickly putting her hand over her mouth and blushing. Naruto for his part was not holding up any better and had turned bright red. Anko, however, was not so embarrassed. Ah, so it's Naruto-kun now, is it, Nai-chan? Just when did you two get so close? Ah, well, look at Naruto, you've embarrassed him. Kurenai looked at Naruto and saw he had gone completely bright red. Oh, Naruto, I'm sore, Kurenai started but was interrupted by Naruto who had lost all trace of his blush. You don't have to apologize, besides I don't mind you calling me that, Naruto said smiling at her, causing her to blush and nod thankfully at Naruto. Anko, however, decided she hadn't finished teasing the pair. So Nai-chan, when's the wedding? Kurenai glared at Anko, but what surprised her the most was Naruto standing up. Anko, I suggest you stop teasing Kurenai-chan as she has always been kind to you and helped you especially with any problems you had with Aniki. Anyway, I'm out of here. I'll see you later, Kurenai-chan. Anko. Naruto finished his speech, speaking emotionlessly and frightening Anko a little. Kurenai was also shocked that Naruto would stand up for her like that. She had known Anko was teasing, but she also knew Anko didn't know when to stop. Anko was about to apologize to Naruto, but sighed when she saw him vanish in a yellow flash. She looked at her best friend with regret in her eyes. I'm sorry, Nai-chan, me and my big mouth, I just keep causing you problems, don't I? Kurenai looked genuinely surprised at Anko's statement before smiling at her best friend. Don't worry about it, Anko-chan, I knew you were teasing, even if you did go a little too far, but if I ever hear you call yourself a problem again I will hit you. It was now Anko's turn to look surprised. It was the first time that Kurenai had ever threatened to hit her. She smiled, however. Thank you, Nai-chan, when I see Naruto I will also apologize to him as well. You two have been nothing but supportive towards me, but Nai-chan, I've known you long enough to know when you genuinely like someone, so let me ask you something. How do you feel about Naruto? Anko asked, grateful that her friend had forgiven her and helped her through her life, but now she wanted to see her friend as happy as she was when she was with Kakashi. Kurenai looked down for a couple of seconds in deep thought. Do I like him like that? I mean, he's not a pervert, he doesn't think I'm weak because I'm a woman, he is also very handsome. Smart and funny also, he never tries to take advantage of me. Could I possibly be falling in love with him? No, we are just friends. If something were to happen between us and made us hate each other, I don't think I could bear it. We must stay friends, it's not like anything could happen between us, right? Kurenai thought while obviously lying to herself. Over the years she had become more and more attracted to Naruto. Every year he seemed to get even more handsome. It took every bit of willpower she had not to just kiss him. Kurenai looked up to Anko, sadness in her eyes. Please, Anko-chan, can we just drop it? Kurenai pleaded. Anko looked at Kurenai and nodded, knowing how much of a turmoil her friend was going through. Fine, but sooner or later you're going to have to face this head on, Anko said, while inside was thinking about something completely different. To think you of all people have melted the Ice Queen Naruto. From this day forward, I am going to do whatever I can to get you two together. Anko then began to talk to Kurenai about a guy she had tortured information out of. Hokage Monument. Naruto appeared on top of his father's head with yellow flash. He sighed and sat down, leaving his legs dangling over the side. He smiled slightly. I wonder how different my life would be if you two were here. I know you would laugh if you saw my new students. I just don't think I'll ever be able to get them to work together. How did you do it, Dad? Naruto sighed and chuckled slightly. I wonder what you and Mom would think about my crush on Kurenai-chan. The presence of a chakra signature caused Naruto to turn around, looking at the person interrupting his peaceful time. Naruto turned around and was surprised to see Kakashi walking over towards him. However, Naruto noticed straight away that he didn't have his emotional mask on. Naruto was shocked at how lonely Takashi's eyes were. I'm sorry I never helped you before, Takashi, but I will now. Naruto frowning inwardly, but smiled nonetheless to try make Takashi feel more at ease. Oh, hello Takashi, what brings you up here? Naruto asked as Takashi walked over towards him and sat down on the Yandame's head next to Naruto. Takashi sighed, looking down at the village, sadness clearly visible in his slightly larger than normal eyes. Just needed somewhere to think, that's all, Naruto-sensei, Takashi said, still not looking at Naruto. Naruto, however, looked towards Takashi and smiled while laying back, letting the sun hit him. I guess great minds think alike, but why the Yandame's head? Naruto asked, waiting for Takashi to answer. Takashi had a small smile on his face as he answered. Well, I've always looked up to the fourth. I want to be like him, strong, respected, and to become the Hokage, he said while smiling at the village. Naruto, while still laid down, looked at Takashi through the corner of his eyes and smiled. Well, those goals will be difficult to achieve, but I believe you will be able to do it. Takashi's eyes widened and snapped his head towards Naruto. Naruto-sensei believes in me. Does this mean he acknowledges me? The brown-haired boy thought while tears formed around his eyes. However, he had remembered a certain question he had been wanting to ask Naruto when they were alone. Why me? Takashi asked, getting a sigh from Naruto. Why did your father choose to seal the Kyuubi in me? Takashi finished, waiting for Naruto to respond. Naruto sat back up and looked up at the clouds. That's a good question. I myself had been wondering that for years, but after all hearing stories about you from everyone, I think I understand why. My father was a kind man and a great father, but he was the Hokage first. My father was a very good judge of character. I believe he saw something in you, and until now I never knew what it was. Naruto stopped looking at the clouds and faced Takashi, who was looking at Naruto with pleading eyes. What is it? What do you see? Takashi asked, barely being able to hold his tears in his eyes. Naruto smiled and put his hand on Takashi's shoulder. Your determination. I truly believe that you are the only person in the village who has the ability to hold the Kyuubi at bay while taking the hatred of the village. You are what Hokage-sama says you are, a hero, so don't forget that you are the jailer, not the prisoner. Naruto finished, watching tears fall from Takashi's eyes. Naruto let Takashi cry for several minutes. He was about to take Takashi home when he heard the younger boy's stomach growl. Naruto chuckled slightly. "How about we go to Ichiraku's before we head home?" Takashi gave one of his rare genuine smiles and nodded. Naruto and Takashi walked down the streets of Konoha. The civilian glared at Takashi, but never said anything as they saw Naruto or in their eyes Namikaze-sama walk along with him. Takashi ignored the glares, smiling happily at the thought of free ramen. Naruto however was in deep thought about something. Well, the next few weeks are going to be different. I should apologize to Anko. I know she was only teasing, but she knows how I feel about Kurenai-chan. Naruto took a quick glance at Takashi and saw he was talking to himself about what type of ramen he wanted. Naruto sweat dropped. Yes, definitely different, Naruto thought as they both walked towards the ramen restaurant. Chapter 3. AN, Author's Notes. Speech Character Voices. Thoughts Character Thoughts. Speech Ba Summon, Demon Voice or Jutsus. Thoughts Ba Summon or Demon Thoughts. It was another bright day in Konohagakure and most of the people were happily getting along with their lives. However, one Team 7 was walking through the streets with frowns on their faces. Naruto was cursing the council for giving him a genin team. Bastards. This is so boring. Why do I have to do D rank missions with a genin? I should be doing A rank missions at least. Oh well, might as well go see if the old man has any more missions. The genin on Team 7 were also cursing the fact this was their 7th D rank mission in a row. How am I meant to get strong enough to kill him if all I'm doing is D rank missions? I'm an Uchiha, I deserve the best. Sasuke continued to brood as he walked down the street, ignoring all the civilians that waved at him. Sakura was not so ignorant with the rest of the civilians and smiled and greeted a few of the civilians. Most of the civilians knew who Sakura's mother was, part of the council and was very influential when it came to civilian affairs. Why won't Sasuke-kun ever notice me? Arg, it must be Takashi Baka getting in the way. She frowned at the thought. Takashi was also having a bad day. His landlord had woken him up in the early hours of the morning, telling him to keep the noise down, even though he was completely quiet. He then went to do some D-rank missions after a couple of hours training with the rest of Team 7. However, he was not expecting Tora, the fire daimyo wife's cat. They had chased a cat for several hours, and even when they had caught it, the cat would just scratch their faces. However, what was annoying Takashi the most was the glares he was receiving from the civilians, even though they had lessened due to the fact that Naruto was with him, but they were still hurtful. Why won't they stop staring, he thought while walking down the street with his head down. Sakura and Sasuke had also noticed the stares Takashi was getting, but ignored it, thinking the civilians were angry at Takashi for the pranks he did on them. Naruto, however, glared at a few of the more confident civilians that looked like they were about to speak up, but once they saw Naruto's ferocious look, they quickly backed down, not wanting to anger their Namikaze-sama. Team 7 continued their walk towards the Hokage Tower, not realizing that today was going to be the start of a big change for all of them. When Team 7 made it into the Hokage's office, they were met with smiles from the Hokage and Iruka, but scowls from the advisors. Admittedly, the scowls were aimed at Takashi, but both Sasuke and Sakura were clueless of the reason. Team 7 reporting in capture Tora completed, Naruto said, getting smiles from everyone. As soon as he had finished his sentence, however, a rather large woman ran up to Takashi and took the cat out of his hands and started tightly hugging the cat. More take that, you stupid cat, the three genin thought while glaring at the cat. Tora, my baby, the daimyo's wife said while crushing the poor cat. Thank you, she finished while giving a bag of coins to the Hokage and walking out of the room. The Hokage turned to Team 7 and smiled. Congratulations Team 7, that was your 7th D rank mission. Now what mission would you like to do now? Pick weeds. Ain't offense. The Hokage was about to continue until the sound of the daimyo's wife echoed through the window. Tora, no comeback. The Hokage looked back at Team 7 and gave a weak smile. Or capture T. No, the three genin shouted, but inwardly Naruto was shouting the same thing, but never let his face show his emotion. Takashi, however, was not as good at hiding his emotions. Come on Gigi, can't we do any cool missions? I mean, those are civilian missions, not missions for ninja. Sakura and Sasuke were surprised at the way Takashi would address the Hokage. Naruto, however, could resist smirking at the Hokage's personal name from Takashi. Takashi, show Hokage-sama some respect. And are you out of your mind? D-rank missions are for genin, Iruka shouted using his big head, no just to making Takashi shrink. However, Sasuke seemed unaffected and was also thinking the same as Takashi. I agree with the dope, I'm an Uchiha, I deserve high-ranking missions, Sasuke said, making Naruto sigh. Iruka was about to shout at Sasuke, but was cut off by the Hokage. Sasuke, Uchiha, do not for one second think your last name will grant you privileges with me. Genin teams are allowed to go on C-rank missions, only if their Jonin senseis believe they are ready to. Hiruzen finished leaking a bit of killing intent at Sasuke, making him back away. You believe your genin are ready for a C-rank mission? Naruto-kun, the Sunday mask, making Takashi and Sasuke look at him pleadingly, while Sakura had a concerned look on her face while looking out of the window. Yes, I believe they are ready for a C-rank mission, Hokage-sama, Naruto said, getting a cheer from Takashi and a smirk from Sasuke. The god of shinobi sighed. Okay, your mission will be a protection mission in the land of wave, sent to Zuna-san and please, he said through the intercom, getting an immediate hi Hokage-sama. After several seconds of waiting there was a knock on the Hokage's door. Come in, Hiruzen said, making the door open, revealing a tall old man who was clearly drunk, if the bottle of sake in his hand was anything to go by. This is my protection, a bunch of brats, especially the shortest one with a stupid looking face. Are you really a ninja? Tazuna said, making Takashi blink a few times before the word sunk in. I'll kill you, Takashi said, jumping towards Tazuna, but was quickly grabbed by Naruto. What's the point in having a protection mission if you're going to kill the client, idiot, Naruto said, calming Takashi down. I am the super expert bridge builder Tazuna. I expect you to provide me super protection, even at the cost of your lives, until I get back to my country and complete my bridge. Naruto narrowed his eyes at Tazuna, but again never showed any outward emotion to the bridge builder. At the costs of our lives, what are you hiding? Naruto thought as Tazuna left. He looked down to his genin. Go home and pack your bags and meet me at the south gate in 20 minutes, dismissed, Naruto said, getting nods from the three. When they left, Naruto looked at the Hokage with a serious gaze, showing the Hokage that he was serious. Hokage-sama, I would like to request another team to accompany me on the mission, Naruto said, standing up straight. The advisors gave him curious looks, but never said anything. So you sense it as well, Naruto-kun? Hiruzen asked seriously, getting a nod from Naruto. I believe Tazuna-san hasn't told us everything, Naruto said. The Sandame sighed. I agree, Naruto-kun, I will send another team with you, but who? The Sandame said to himself. However, a knock on the door broke the old Hokage from his thoughts. Come in, he said. The door opened, revealing a boy with red marks on his cheeks and a small white puppy on his head. The second boy had a large coat and a pair of sunglasses that covered most of his face. The last genin was a small girl with lavender hair and plain white eyes. As the three genin walked in, a final figure walked through the door. Naruto blushed slightly. Kurenai-chan. Kurenai walked in behind her genin, surprisingly wearing her Jonin vest. She smiled when she saw Naruto, getting curious looks from her three genin. Hello, Naruto-kun, she said, blushing slightly after adding the suffix. The three genin stared wide-eyed. She had never added that suffix on anyone's name before and had found out of her reputation at being a nice queen. Teammate reporting in, babysitting elder's grandson complete, she said, turning towards the Hokage, giving him the payment. Naruto smiled, ignoring the curious looks from the three genin. Hello, Kurenai-chan, it's good to see you again, he said, smiling with a slight pink tinge on his cheeks. The Hokage smiled despite how awkward it was getting. He had known about his son and Naruto's attraction towards the Genjutsu mistress and promised himself he would not show any favoritism towards either of them. He saw Naruto as a part of his family, especially after Naruto's father died. He had made sure Naruto would have everything he needed and was glad Naruto had not become arrogant over his name and the amount of respect he got from the civilians. Asuma wasn't arrogant, but being the son of the third Hokage had also earned him the same respect from the civilians, especially the female civilians, which he used for his own pleasure. Ah yes, well done teammate, that was the 10th D rank mission your team has completed. Your next mission is a C rank mission. You will accompany Team 7 to the Land of Waves and protect a bridge builder, Tazuna the Sandame informed. Kurenai's eyes narrowed slightly and looked at Naruto. He gave her a quick nod that told her that he would tell her everything. Hiba, however, was ecstatic over the fact he was going on a C rank mission. Yes, finally a cool mission, Kiba shouted, jumping in the air while the little dog barked. Shino and Hinata sighed, while Kurenai's eyebrow twitched. Stop being a baka, Kiba, she shouted, punching the young Inyazuka in the top in the head. Naruto nervously laughed at Kurenai's bad temper. He had been on the receiving end of many of those punches before. Kurenai glared at Naruto. After hearing him laugh, she began walking over towards the blonde. Got something you would like to say, Naruto-kun? Kurenai said with a smile on her face as she walked towards Naruto, cracking her knuckles. Naruto immediately went pale and began to back away. No, Kurenai-chan, of course not. She walked up to him so their faces were inches apart, blushing slightly. She grabbed hold of the collar on Naruto's Jonin jacket and pulled his face even closer, making him blush at the situation. But she smiled and started dragging Naruto across the room. Pack your stuff and meet me at the south gate in 10 minutes, Kurenai said to the three genin as she walked out, dragging Naruto along with her. Everyone in the room stood there wide-eyed as their strongest Jonin was dragged off like a child. I do hope Naruto-kun will be alright, Hiruzen said while sighing. Hinata suddenly went even more wide-eyed. That was Naruto. Kurenai-sensei always talks about him, Hinata said. Hiba was also curious of the blonde Namikaze. She always says he's the strongest Jonin in the village, but he doesn't look that old. How old is he, Hokage-sama? Kiba asked. Hiruzen sighed. Naruto-kun is 16 years old and is indeed one of the strongest Jonin in the village. Kiba stood wide-eyed at the information he had just learned. It is expected from the son of the Yondaime Hokage, Shino said as the three of them went home to pack their traveling gear. Is it wise to send the last Uchiha and that thing on a mission outside the village? One of the advisors known as Koharu asked, getting a scowl from the Hokage. Sasuke and Takashi will be safe under the protection of Naruto-kun, and Kurenai Himura looked at her two old teammates. Perhaps it is a good idea the Uchiha might finally activate his Sharingan hears inside, knowing it was definitely going to be a long day. Kurenai was packing her travel gear. She had just finished packing the large backpack full of clothes and scrolls filled with food, kunais and shurikens. She looked over to where Naruto was and smiled. Naruto was sat on Kurenai's couch looking at the flowers on Kurenai's table. He looked up and saw Kurenai walking out of her room with her backpack on. She looked at him slightly confused because he never had his bag. "Naruto-kun, aren't you going to get your travel gear? We have to go in 5 minutes," she asked, showing a hint of annoyance over the fact Naruto would forget. Naruto however smiled and pulled a small scroll from a pocket on his Jonin flak jacket. "No, I'm good, I have everything in here," Kurenai sighed while mumbling something about smartest sealing masters. Naruto chuckled but stopped when he heard a voice. "Oh, isn't this cute, got him over already, eh Nai-chan? Damn, you work fast," Anko said while walking into the room, followed closely by Kakashi, who gave a simple one-eye smile. Naruto looked at her with a frown. He didn't hate her, but was still angry because she just didn't know when to stop teasing. Anko saw the frown and sighed. "Oh well, here goes. Look Naruto-kun, I'm sorry about teasing both you and Nai-chan." Naruto looked at her in a surprise before smiling. "I forgive you, and I'm sorry as well, I knew you were only joking." But well, Naruto was stopped by Anko as she hugged him. "I know about your feeling towards Nai-chan," she whispered in his ear, so only he could hear. Kurenai smiled at the scene. Both Anko and Naruto were her best friends and she hated to see them fight. However, her face turned serious as she looked at Anko and Kakashi. "Okay, I'm going to be gone at least 2 weeks, so no parties and don't wreck the place with your activities," she finished, blushing and also glaring mostly at her roommate Anko, who in turn just smiled and nodded. "Alright, we should set off Kurenai-chan or we're going to be late," Naruto said. Looking at Kurenai, she nodded, walking towards the door. "Bye guys," Naruto said as he opened the door. "See you later guys and be careful, especially you Itato," Kakashi said while staring at Naruto. He scoffed slightly. "Don't need to worry about me and Ikki. Just don't spend all day looking at my name on the memorial stone if I die," Naruto said, trying to lighten up the mood. He quickly walked out of the apartment followed by Kurenai, who had caught up with him. "So what do you think of the mission?" Kurenai asked as they walked towards the south gate. "Well, Tazuna-san is obviously hiding something, but we need proof before declining a mission. The only thing I'm worried about is the genin," Naruto said. Kurenai nodded, agreeing with Naruto. They stopped suddenly when 4 figures dropped from the building tops. "Hello Kurenai-chan, Naruto going somewhere?" Asuma said, growling at the mention of Naruto, but also curious to where Kurenai was going. She sighed. "We're going on a mission outside of the village with the genin," Kurenai said, not really in the mood to talk to Asuma. He however was thinking otherwise. "So anyway Kurenai-chan, want to go on a date when you come back?" Kurenai sighed again. "No Asuma, this is the 3rd time today you've asked me, Naruto," and the genin snickered at Asuma, who secretly glared at Naruto. "Well okay, I'll see you later," he finished, walking off fuming, closely followed by his 3 genin, leaving an incredibly annoyed Kurenai and an amused Naruto. "Well, that was entertaining," Naruto said as he and Kurenai walked towards the gate. When both Naruto and Kurenai made it towards the south gate, they immediately sweat-dropped at the scene. Takashi and Kiba were arguing over who was going to beat the first ninja, while Hinata secretly stared at Takashi. Shino was leaning on the gate and Sasuke was brooding as usual, while Sakura kept trying to talk to him. "Naruto-sensei, Kurenai-sensei," Kiba and Takashi shouted. Tazuna frowned. "These two are my protection, they're nothing but brats." Takashi and Kiba went to attack Tazuna, but were quickly stopped by Naruto because "Don't worry Tazuna-san, myself and Kurenai-chan will keep you safe." Tazuna smiled a little and started to walk outside of the village. Unknown to all them, they were being watched. As Tazuna and the Konohanins were walking towards Wave Country, Naruto couldn't help but notice Tazuna was acting weird, a little too weird for Naruto's liking. Naruto had been quiet for most of the trip so far, but had been listening to Kurenai tell the genin about the ninja system. He smiled when he heard Takashi declare he was definitely going to become Hokage. His eyes narrowed however at a small puddle on the side of the road. "What the hell, it hasn't rained in days." He looked over towards Kurenai, who nodded at him. As the group walked past the small puddle, both Jounins gave it one last glance out of the corner of their eyes. When the group were a couple of meters ahead of the puddle, it suddenly started to morph into 2 figures with masks on and a giant claw linked with a chain. The 2 figures rushed towards the unprepared Naruto and Kurenai. Naruto and Kurenai's eyes widened when they felt the chain wrap round them, and what happened next made everyone gasp. The 2 Jounins were ripped apart by the giant claws on the mysterious duo's hands. They rushed towards the genins and Tazuna with intent of killing. Sasuke however jumped in the air, stopping the duo by pinning the chain to a tree, stopping their movement. However, the 2 just detached the chain and ran past Sasuke. One of them turned off to attack Takashi and Kiba, who were frozen in fear, while the other rushed towards Tazuna. However, Sakura and Shino jumped in front of Tazuna with the intention of sacrificing themselves. Just as the two were about to connect with their targets, Naruto appeared and punched the one in front of Tazuna hard enough so he stuck into the tree. Kurenai appeared in front of the other one and stabbed him in the neck with a kunai, instantly killing him. She sighed as she looked at the frightened look on the Jonin's faces. She then looked down at the dead figure at her feet. "These are the demon brothers from the hidden mist," Kurenai said, getting a nod from Naruto, who looked at Tazuna, leaking a little of killing intent at the bridge builder. "Tazuna-san, I think we need to talk now," Naruto said, making him visibly gulp. The group had tied the surviving brother onto a tree. The mist ninja had woken up and was glaring at Naruto. "How did you know we were there?" the demon brother asked, getting also curious looks from everyone but Kurenai. "It was obvious. It hasn't rained in days, so why would there be a puddle? To be honest, if I wanted I could have took you both out there and then, but I needed to find something out," Naruto replied. However, Tazuna was slightly angry at Naruto over the fact he had used them as bait. "Why didn't you take them out? We could have died." Naruto glared at Tazuna, making him flinch. "I had my suspicions back in Konoha you were hiding something, but this proves I was right. They were not after us, Tazuna-san, they were after you, but this is not bandits or thieves. These are ninjas. This is easily higher than a C-class mission. I suggest you start talking," Naruto said coldly. Tazuna's face, however, became saddened. "I'm sorry for dragging all of you into this. We only had enough money to pay for a C-rank mission. Wave is extremely poor at the moment. Bridge is our last hope, but it would ruin Gedo, so he has sent people to kill me. Please help us," Tazuna begged at Naruto's feet. Naruto sighed. "Even though you deserve to be left here to die, we will help you, but try to be more honest in any future mission, Tazuna-san," Naruto said, walking towards Wave again. Everyone just shook their head and continued walking as well. Kurenai walked right next to Naruto, giving his an admiring look before asking what had been on her mind since Naruto had agreed to help Tazuna. "Why did you carry on with the mission, Naruto-kun?" Kurenai asked. Naruto turned around looking at the group of Jonin talking to Tazuna. "Because Kurenai-chan, if we do help Wave it will secure us a lot of future missions. Also the Jonin need to know the difference between what's right and what's wrong." Kurenai smiled at Naruto's selflessness. It always surprised her how far Naruto would go to make someone feel better even if it was at the cost of his own happiness. He really is the perfect man. She blushed at the thought and shook her head, not quite comfortable to where her thoughts were heading. Tazuna, Team 7 and 8, made their way into Wave by boat. The mist was beginning to clear, giving everyone a clear view, however they were not expecting the view to be as stunning. Wow, all the Jonin sat at the side in front of them because their standing tall was a giant half-finished bridge. "Did you build that, old man?" Takashi asked, getting a sigh from both Jonins over the amount of respect Takashi showed. "Yes, I did, Gaki. I bet you're super impressed now," Tazuna said, while Takashi glared at the man for calling him a Gaki. "This is where you must get off now, Tazuna-san. It is too dangerous to go into Wave," the fisherman said, making Tazuna sigh. "Hi, thank you," Tazuna said, getting off the boat, closely followed by the two Konoha teams. As the Konoha team and Tazuna were walking down the road into Wave, Takashi jumped in front of them all with a kunai in hand. Naruto raised an eyebrow at Takashi's unusual behavior, while Sakura thought it was Takashi's way of trying to look cool and embarrass her Sasuke-kun. "Takashi Baka, stop trying to act cool like Sasuke-kun," she screeched, causing everyone else to hold their ears in pain. Hinata, however, frowned at Sakura and stepped forward and activated her Byakugan. Her Byakugan was not the most advanced, but was able to see everything in front of her. She frowned, however, when Sakura was proven right, and there was indeed nothing there. She blushed, trying to find her voice. "Sakura-s and I is RHT Takashi-kun," Hinata said, saddened over the fact she was embarrassing her crush. Takashi, however, ignored her and threw a kunai into the bush, hitting something. Everyone's eyes widened when the sound of metal piercing flesh came. They all ran to where the kunai had hit and saw a dead white rabbit. "Takashi Baka, look at what you did, you're a useless ninja," Sakura screeched, causing Takashi to drop his head down. Hinata and Kurenai frowned at the way Sakura would speak to her teammate. Kurenai looked over towards Naruto to see him staring at the rabbit with wide eyes. "Wait a minute, that's a snow rabbit but it's spring." Why would? Naruto's eyes widened as he moved at insane speed, knocking Tazuna down. "Everyone get down." Everyone jumped to the floor, confused at Naruto's behavior. However, all their questions were answered when a giant sword flew over their head and stuck into a tree. Naruto stood up and stared at the sword. Suddenly a figure appeared standing on top of the lodged blade. Naruto's eyes widened, as did Kurenai's, at the appearance of the newcomer. "That's a swordsman," both Jounins thought, glaring at the man who was wrapped in bandages, so only his eyes were showing. No wonder the demon brothers were taken out so easily. However, I am surprised that Konoha would send Konoha no Kairoi Sendo', the yellow death of Konoha, Zabuza said, staring at Naruto. Takashi saw Zabuza and Naruto glaring at each other. He could feel the intensity, but remembered the cut on his hand. I won't let Sasuke embarrass me anymore, he thought while rushing ahead, but was stopped by a firm grip on his shoulder. He looked up and saw Naruto shaking his head. "Takashi, leave this one to me, okay? This one is far too strong for any of you," Naruto said, while pulling out a Hiraishin kunai. "This battle would be tough unless I remove that seal." But if I do remove it, it could hurt me more. Looks like I'll be fighting you at 50%. Zabuza. Naruto looked back towards Kurenai and the genin. Protect Azuna-san, I'll deal with Zabuza. Kurenai-chan. She nodded, but was secretly worried for Naruto, as he was fighting one of the 7 swordsmen. Naruto-kun, you better not die. She turned to face the 6 genin. Protect Azuna-san formation. All the genin circled Azuna with Kurenai at the front. Deal with me, Hut. Azuna said, taking his sword out from the tree and jumping down to the floor. I must admit you are the only one who worries me here, but your head is worth a lot of money in Iowa, especially after you killed 20 of their best Jonin. Zabuza started laughing when he saw the Kurenai, the genins and Azuna. Eyes widened. Shut up, you know nothing about me. Naruto shouted, surprising everyone as his usual calm mask had dropped. They attacked me first, I had no choice, Naruto said, putting his calm mask back on and glaring at Zabuza, leaking a lot of killing intent out. Zabuza was surprised by the amount of killing intent Naruto was leaking out, but sent his own to meet Naruto's and jumped off the tree, landing on the water well. I only came here for the bridge builder, but your head is worth much more. Zabuza started going through hand seals Kurigakur no Jutsu hit and miss technique. The air suddenly became clouded with thick mist. 8 choices: liver, lungs, spine, clavicle vein, neck vein, brain, kidneys or heart. Which one should I go after? Zabuza's voice echoed through the mist, making all the genin shiver in fear. Sasuke was shaking under the pressure in the air. Is this what a Jonin battle is like? It's too much, I'd rather just end this now. Sasuke started to raise his kunai, but was stopped at the sound of Naruto's voice. Calm down, Sasuke, I won't let any of you die. Sasuke slowly nodded. Really, we'll see about that, Zabuza said as he appeared behind all the genins preparing to strike down Tazuna first. The bridge builder Zabuza swung to hit Tazuna with his giant blade, but was stopped by Naruto, who had blocked the blade with his own kunai. So you are as fast as the rumors say. Impressive. I had my doubts, Zabuza said as both fighters continued to battle for dominance. I'm glad you're impressed, but this battle ends now, Naruto said as he diverted Zabuza's sword into the ground with his Hiraishin kunai and sliced Zabuza's throat with his trench knife. However, instead of blood, water spilled everywhere. Naruto's eyes widened when he felt a presence behind him. Naruto was suddenly sliced in half by the giant sword. Everyone's eyes widened at the sight of the blonde Jonin's body sliced horizontally in half. Naruto-kun, Kurenai shouted, preparing to attack Zabuza and avenge her fallen friend. However, the sight of 2 trench knives aimed across Zabuza's throat made her back down and smile happily. Give up, you can't beat me, it's over, Naruto said coldly with his knives still attached to. Alright sensei, kick his ass, Takashi shouted as most of the genins were thinking the exact same. Interesting clone of blood one, am I right? Haha, you had already set it up back when you were speaking to your student. Impressive. However, I'm also not that easy, Zabuza said, appearing bang Naruto, who stood wide-eyed and slashed the clone in front of him and it exploded with water. Zabuza went to slash Naruto, but missed as Naruto disappeared in a yellow flash. Zabuza turned around to the tree his blade had once been stuck into and saw Naruto standing on a branch with a Hiraishin kunai in his hand. This ends now, Naruto said, throwing his kunai at Zabuza. Zabuza smirked when he saw the kunai and deflected it into the water. Naruto, however, jumped at Zabuza and kicked his blade out of his hand, making it stick into the ground several meters away from him. Zabuza punched Naruto in face, sending him back a few meters. Naruto spat some blood out his mouth and smirked. It's over, Naruto said while his body dissolved into a puddle of blood, making everyone's eyes widen. Zabuza had just enough time to stop Naruto from stabbing him from behind with a Hiraishin, but was unable to stop the kick to his chin, sending him flying in the air. Zabuza backflipped and landed on his feet next to his sword while wiping a bit of blood off his lip. Impressive, but it's going to take a lot more than that to beat me, Zabuza said while picking his sword out of the ground. He smiled and launched his sword at Naruto. However, Naruto jumped and landed on the side of the blade before jumping high in the air. His eyes widened at the sight a giant water dragon was heading towards him. Naruto put his hands together, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu Shadow Clone Technique. 2 more Narutos appeared at the side of him and grabbed the real Naruto's arms and threw him towards the ground, avoiding the water dragons. However, the shadow clones were not so lucky and exploded into a large cloud of smoke. Impressive, you were able to avoid my Suryuiden no Jutsu water dragon projectile technique within, though I put you in a position where it was almost impossible to dodge, but don't relax yet, Zabuza said while going through hand seals. Suryuiden no Jutsu water dragon projectile technique, Zabuza shouted, launching a water dragon towards Naruto. Naruto smiled when he saw the dragon coming towards him and went through his own hand seal Suryuiden no Jutsu water dragon projectile technique, Naruto shouted, meeting Zabuza's water dragon with his own. Both jutsus exploded, showering both Naruto and Zabuza with water. However, what shocked Zabuza was that Naruto was smiling. It wasn't until Naruto's body started to crack and sizzle when Zabuza realized what had happened. Naruto's body exploded in a mass of electric bolts, making everyone's eyes widen. The electric current spread through the water faster than anyone could see. Raiden Cage Bunshin no Jutsu Lightning Element Shadow Clone Technique Webster. He must have set up the Bunshin after the jutsus collided. Zabuza thought as he saw the electric current coming towards he was about to jump in the air until he saw Naruto hovering above him, preparing to land a finishing blow. Zabuza sliced his sword up in the air slicing Naruto in half but became immediately fearful when he saw Naruto's body explode with water showering him again. Zabuza suddenly started screaming out in pain as his body was fried by the electric currents and the smell of burning flesh could be smelt for miles. After the currents flowing through Zabuza's body had stopped, Zabuza's body was still sizzling and smoke was coming from his body. His body was shaking and looked like it was ready to collapse any second. Naruto dropped out of a tree near the Konoha group and Tazuna he stared at Zabuza panting slightly. Thank God that's over. I nearly had to release my seal to beat him. Thank you Nikki for teaching me those bunchins. The rest of the group just stared at Naruto, amazed over the fact he was so strong. Naruto-kun you held back a lot, just how strong are you? Kurenai thought she had known Naruto was strong, but to go one-on-one with a swordsman of the mist and win that was feat itself, but to be also holding back. Naruto pulled out his trench knives again and began to walk towards Zabuza, whose body was still fried, but before Naruto had reached him 3 senbons stuck into Zabuza's neck, knocking him to the ground. A figure appeared from out of the trees. The person wore a mask, a light blue clothes, a hunter ninja. Naruto and Kurenai thought. Thank you for your assistance. I have been tracking Zabuza for a while, Nagudbi the hunter nin said, vanishing by Shunshin with Zabuza. Naruto's eyes narrowed slightly, but turned around and smiled. Told you I wasn't going to let any of you die. The group also smiled, but quickly panicked when they saw Naruto fall to one knee. Kurenai was the first to reach him and put his arm over her shoulder. Don't worry Naruto-kun, I'll look after you. Naruto blushed, but began following Tazuna to his house. Chapter 4. Bayan, Author's Notes. Speech Character Voices. Thoughts Character Thoughts. Speech Ba Summon, Demon Voice or Jutsus. Thoughts Ba Summon or Demon Thoughts. Team 7 and 8 had successfully managed to get to Tazuna's house and were sitting around the table in the kitchen. Okay, I want you to know something. I don't want you to panic, but I believe Zabuza is still alive, Naruto said calmly. What do you mean sensei? We saw that hunter nin kill him, Sakura asked, getting nods from all the genin. Well, Sakura usually hunter ninjas destroy the body there, and then Naruto started looking at the surprised faces of all the genin. So for a hunter ninja to not destroy the body and take it away, it is unusual unless they are working together. All the genin's eyes widened at this as they finally began to see what was happening. Don't you think you're overthinking this a little? I mean you fried him and he was stabbed in the neck. Who could get up after that? Tazuna asked, frightened over the thought of seeing the sword-wielding maniac. No, he is still alive and he will come back for you. Naruto turned towards the genin. You 6 will also be getting training if I'm right. Zabuza will most likely be out a week at most. But sensei, we won't be able to beat Zabuza with only a week worth of training. Naruto looked at her and sighed. He was getting tired at how the so-called top Kunoichi could be so stupid. Of course you're not going to fighting Zabuza, you will be fighting his partner, the fake hunter nin. All the genins except Shino, Sakura and Hinata smirked at the news. However, as it is I am still pretty tired, so Kurenai will take over all of your training until I am feeling better. Is this alright with you, Kurenai? Naruto had found it strange not adding the chan suffix, however he had to seem professional in front of his client's family. Kurenai glared at Naruto. That lazy bum, leaving me to train his genin team. I'll get you back for this. Of course Naruto. She also found not adding a suffix to Naruto's name weird, but hid it from the clients. Kurenai turned to the genins with an emotionless face. Go to the woods, I will meet you all there. The genins nodded their head and left Kurenai, then turned towards Tazuna and his daughter Tsunami. Tazuna-san, Tsunami-san, if you don't mind, would it be possible for me to speak to my partner in private? Tsunami blushed as her perverted mind went into action. Ah sure, come on dad, let's leave these two alone, they require each other's company. Tazuna grinned and walked out of the room, ignoring the shouts from Kurenai. Kurenai turned around and looked at Naruto with the same glare. Naruto gulped. He had seen that glare once. It was also the only night he had feared for his life. He had stolen Kurenai's dango and sake while she wasn't looking and spent the night running away from an angry Kurenai who was throwing kunes at him. You, she said angrily as she walked up to a still injured Naruto. When she made it so she was standing above him, she fought off a blush as she saw Naruto was topless, and even though he wasn't made like a bodybuilder, his muscles were extremely large for a 16-year-old. He had no baby fat at all. Don't you ever scare me like that ever again, she yelled, her voice cracking a little. Naruto looked down in shame, knowing he had hurt the person he loved most. Why did you hold back? You could have easily defeated him, yet you let me worry about you, Kurenai said with a strict tone, making Naruto flinch and look down again. I had no choice but to hold back, Naruto said, finishing with a sigh. He saw Kurenai give him a questionable look. He sighed again and continued, I had been wearing a seal for the last 6 years, the same seal my father used when he was creating the Hiraishin no Jutsu. It seals half of your chakra away. It was used to save chakra in battle. However, it is also used as a weight. It adds 2,500 pounds to the human body. It's what helped my father's body cope with the stress the Haration caused. However, I was a fool. It was only meant to be a temporary seal. I had it on too long. Deactivating it would have made me completely useless. I wouldn't have even been able to move while fighting Zabuza. Naruto finished his story, rubbing where the seal used to be. Kurenai had been listening to his explanation. She felt guilty that she had yelled at Naruto when all he had done was protect them, knowing he was at a disadvantage. You must be as strong as the sand and maybe even stronger if you were able to beat Zabuza at half of your strength. She then remembered something Naruto had said. Naruto smiled. Nothing gets past you, does it, Kurenai-chan? I released the seal the same time the fake hunter Nin came. Actually, I'm not really injured at all. My body. I'm just getting used to weighing 2,500 pounds lighter. Kurenai giggled, but immediately glared. So you're making me train your genin because you're being lazy? Naruto waved his hands in front of him when he saw Kurenai's glare. No, it's not what you think. Seriously, I should be able to walk around by myself in a day or two. Anyway, I'm surprised you would turn down the chance to train Takashi. Mean we're outside the village. Maybe you could push Takashi in the right direction, Naruto said, smiling once he saw Kurenai stop glaring and enter a thinking pose. You're right, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'll be back later, Kurenai said, running out of the door. Women, Naruto thought before going to sleep. Meanwhile, where is she? Takashi shouted as he and the rest of the genins were waiting for Kurenai. Be quiet, Baka, can't you be more like Sasuke-kun? Sakura shouted, causing Takashi to lower his head. Teammate frowned at this, as even though Kiba thought Takashi was an idiot, he didn't deserve that. Hinata, however, was getting angrier and angrier at Sakura and Sasuke, both putting Takashi down. They all turned around at the presence of a red-eyed Jonin, who looked at them all emotionlessly. If you are all done shouting, I believe it is time to train, Kurenai said emotionlessly. Now you will be set into pairs. Any volunteers? No. Fair enough, Hinata, you will work with Takashi. Kurenai said, smirking inwardly. But why can't I work with Sakura-chan? Takashi cried. Kurenai looked at him in disbelief, but then gave him a cold look. You will work with Hinata BQS, then I know you will be doing at least a little bit of training. Kurenai smirked at Takashi's depressed face. I'm sorry, Takashi, but you will thank me later. Kurenai turned to Sakura. You will work with Kiba. What? How am I going to get Sasuke-kun to fall in love with me? Sakura screeched. Kurenai glared at Sakura. She was really starting to annoy the red-eyed Jonin. Poor Naruto, I'm amazed he hasn't killed them yet, Kurenai thought while taking slow breaths, so she didn't end up killing the pink-haired Kunoichi. You are a ninja now, start acting like one. Sakura nodded. She was slightly scared at the Genjutsu mistress's tone, so she decided to just deal with it. Finally, Shino, you will work with Sasuke. Shino nodded. Sasuke grunted, not really bothered who he was working with as long as he got stronger. Kurenai and the genins walked towards a line of extremely large trees. In a blink of an eye, 6 kunai were launched at the genins' feet. Alright, today, you will all be learning tree climbing. Any questions? Kurenai asked seriously as the genins looked at her as if she had grown another head. We already know how to climb trees, Kurenai-sensei, Sakura said, making Kurenai sigh. With chakra? Kurenai asked, getting confused looks from all the genin. Kurenai walked over to one of the trees and immediately began to push chakra to her feet and walk up the tree. All the genins except Sasuke and Shino looked on in amazement as Kurenai was hanging upside down on a branch. Firstly, you have to send chakra to your feet and use it to stick to the tree, Kurenai said, dropping down from the branch and landing in front of the genins. I want you to mark how far you get on the tree. I'm going to protect Azuna-san while he is building the bridge. I'll be back to check your progress. Kurenai finished disappearing with a shunshin. Takashi looked at the tree with fire in his eyes. I'm going to complete this in no time, and then I'll be one step closer to becoming Hokage. Takashi shouted, running at the tree while channeling chakra to his feet. As soon as Takashi placed his feet on the tree, he was blown off. Hinata rushed to Takashi to check if he was alright, while Kiba laughed. Haha, why don't you just give up, dope? You're never going to become Hokage, Kiba taunted while walking towards his tree. Attempting to walk up the tree, he made it a few steps before he was immediately blown off. You didn't do much better, dog breath, Takashi said as his jaw dropped as Hinata had made it several steps up but jumped down and walked up to Takashi while blushing. I see, can help you, Takashi-kun, Hinata said, activating her Byakugan and looking at Takashi's feet. Well, what am I doing wrong, Hinata-chan? Takashi asked, waiting patiently for the Hyuga to speak. Why you're adding TTOM much C chakra to YRF feet? Takashi ran towards the tree again, this time not using as much chakra as the last time. Surprisingly for everyone, Takashi made it a few more steps than last time before being blown off. Thanks, Hinata-chan, you really helped me a lot there, but I'm going to learn how to do this, that's a promise. Believe it. Takashi said, running towards the tree again, unaware a red-eyed Jonin smiling in a tree not too far away. Later. Everyone had made it back to Tazuna's house and were sitting around the table while Tsunami served her food for everyone. However, Kurenai was slightly sulking that Naruto was able to move again. She was really looking forward to watching Naruto beg for his food. While everyone was happily talking about what they were doing, a hand slamming on the table got everyone's attention. "Why do you try so hard? You're all going to die, you can't beat Gato, it's hopeless, and here you all are acting cheerful. I bet none of you know what real suffering is. Stop acting like a baby." Inari shouted across the table. However, the sudden burst of killing intent made everyone look towards Takashi, who was clenching his knuckles so hard they had turned white. "You don't know anything, kid. Suffering, please, you don't know anything about suffering. Try living a life where everyone in the village you have sworn to protect hates you. So don't you ever tell me I don't know anything about suffering." Takashi faced Naruto. "I'm sorry, Naruto-sensei. I'm going to go train if you don't mind." Naruto sighed as he watched Takashi walk outside into the forest. Tsunami shouted for Inari, who had started to cry and had ran off upstairs. Naruto nodded to Kurenai, telling her he was going to speak with Inari first, then Takashi. Naruto thought it would be best to let Takashi blow off some steam before talking to him. As Naruto walked towards Inari, he saw the young boy had been crying for what looked like hours. The young boy looked up to Naruto, but quickly looked down. "Hey there," Naruto said, hoping to break the ice as he sat down next to Inari, who was sitting on the roof of his house. Sighing as he saw the Inari still refusing to look at him, Naruto began to talk to the young boy. "You know, Takashi didn't mean what he said to you. He's just had a hard life, harder than most," Naruto said, sadly, giving Inari a small smile when he saw the young boy look up. "Why does he always smile if his life is that bad?" Inari sobbed out, pleading to Naruto for the answer. Naruto sighed once more before looking into the sky. It's just Takashi's way of dealing with the horrible stuff life throws at him. He may not be the smartest kid, but he has the heart of lion. "Anyway, I'm probably boring you. Good night, Inari," Naruto said, disappearing in a yellow flash, leaving Inari to think over Naruto's words. Deep in the forest, the sounds of trees being punched could be heard. One Takashi Kazama was punching the trees so much his knuckles were bleeding. "Little bastard doesn't know the meaning of suffering," Takashi muttered, collapsing to his knees and punching the ground. "That's enough, Takashi. I don't want you to hurt yourself," Naruto said, appearing out of the trees. Takashi snarled, "Hurt myself, please? We both know a certain fox will heal me straight away. Also, I don't need you to worry about me. I've gone 13 years without help, and I'm certainly not going to start asking for it now," Takashi said, glaring at Naruto. Unfazed by the glare, Naruto walked over to Takashi and went on one knee and placed a hand on Takashi's shoulder. "You may not ask for my help, but I will give it. You're not alone anymore, Takashi," Naruto said, smiling at Takashi. When the genin rushed at Naruto and hugged him while crying, Naruto slowly returned the hug and just let Takashi cry 13 years worth of pain. Eventually Takashi fell asleep due to exhaustion. Naruto sighed again. Had been a long night, yet he was not tired. Something would just not let him sleep. Silently, he picked Takashi up and brought him back to Tazuna's house and placed him on one of the spare beds. Silently, Naruto jumped out of the window and climbed onto the roof and laid down, looking at the stars. "You know, if I didn't know any better, I would say something was bothering you," Naruto-kun, a voice said, making Naruto turn around and smile. "Hello, Kurenai-chan, you look extremely beautiful tonight," Naruto said, blushing as Kurenai was only wearing a light blue nightgown that showed her body perfectly. Her nightgown stuck to her well-toned curves and snuggled her perfect DT-sized breasts. Slowly, Kurenai sat down next to Naruto. "Tsuo, what's bothering you?" Kurenai said in a childish tone, breaking out of her usual cold outer shell. Naruto continued to smile at her for a couple more seconds before letting his head look up at the stars again. "That easy to read, huh?" Naruto said, making Kurenai smile and nod. "For me, yes, Naruto-kun. I'm guessing it was something Zabuza said to you. What happened on that mission, if you don't mind me asking?" Kurenai asked, immediately regretting it when she saw the pained look on Naruto's face. "It was my first mission in Iowa as a Jounin. I was 12 years old. My mission was to locate a scroll and deliver it to Hokage-sama, but as usual, anything that involves Namikaze and Iowa in the same sentence will always end up bad." Flashback. The 12-year-old Naruto was walking the path to an inn on the outskirts of Iwagakure. He was going to make his move Tomoro when attempting to steal the scroll. As he entered the inn, he decided to put his travel cloak on and keep the hood up to avoid any wandering Iowa ninja to recognize the spiky blonde yellow hair. He quickly paid for his room and left for the room just as quick. Entering the small one-bedroom room, Naruto put his travel scrolls on the table next to the bed. Putting his hood back up, Naruto went to the bar downstairs and ordered some sake. Of course, he had to show the bartender his height first to prove he was an adult by ninja laws. Silently sitting down after he had collected his sake, Naruto began to listen to the many conversations some of ninja were having. Suddenly, however, he was interrupted by the presence of someone else on his table. The man was extremely tall and had long white hair that led into a ponytail. He was wearing an Iwa Anbu attire. The man looked to be in his early 30s. "You don't mind me sitting here, do you, stranger?" The man asked, getting a confirmation from Naruto that it was alright for him to sit down. The name's Aono Masushi, the now named Aono said, sitting down, pouring himself some sake before offering Naruto's hand for a handshake. Naruto said, shaking the other guy's hand, leaving out his last name not to raise any suspicion. He cursed inwardly when he saw the other man's eyes widen slightly. Naruto was about to pull his trench knives out but was stopped by the man. "How did you get served alcohol? You must be 12 tops," Aono asked, making Naruto release the breath he had. "Oh, I'm a ninja," Naruto said, still trying not to give anything away. The other man just shrugged and continued to talk to Naruto about jutsus and life. At the end of the night, Naruto could honestly say he liked Aono. He was an extremely good person and a good friend. Naruto had woken up early the next day and had thanked the owner of the inn for letting him stay. He took one last look at the inn before dashing off. "Stay safe, Aono," Naruto thought as he made his way into Iwagakure. Several hours later. On the outskirts of Iwagakure, one Naruto Namikaze could be seen fleeing for his life as 20 Jonin level and several Chuunin level ninjas were chasing him, relaxing slightly as he saw the border of Tokigakure. However, as he entered the border, the Iwa ninjas surrounded Naruto. Under his hood, Naruto cursed at the predicament. His chances of survival had gone down dramatically. Naruto quickly turned around when he heard several of the Jounins shout, "Otendor an earth dragon projectile," they all shouted. Naruto's eyes widened when he saw the giant dragons appear from the ground and head towards him. Naruto jumped in the air just as the dragons collided with the ground underneath him. The blast sent Naruto flying away from all the ninjas. Naruto bounced and rolled off the ground. He was heavily injured. His Jounin flak jacket was missing, torn, so only half of it could be seen. His black anbu bottoms were ripped, showing his bleeding kneecaps. The whole left side of his face was covered in blood. Panting heavily, Naruto stood up, his knees wobbling slightly. All the Iwanins stood in front, some with wide eyes, but most of them had smirks. Well, look at what we have here, the son of the Yondaime Hokage. What luck, finally we can get our revenge on that blasted man," one of the older Jounins, who had an eye patched, said as he walked closer to Naruto. Naruto looked up, his vision starting to blur slightly as the blood started to cover his left eye. Slowly pulling out his Hiraishin trench knives and channeling Futon chakra to them, Naruto got into a stance waiting for one of them to attack. He was left disappointed as one of the Jounins charged at Naruto, clearly blinded by rage as he ignored the shouts from his peers. Naruto watched the Jounin pull out a sword and jump in the air, pulling the sword back so it was over his head. He sliced it down, aiming to slice Naruto in half. His eyes widened when the trench knives went straight through his sword like it was butter. Naruto sliced the Jounin's arm off, ignoring the sound of the Jounin screaming, holding the rest of his arm to stop the blood. Naruto jumped in the air and sent an upwards kick to the man's chin, sending the Jounin flying back to the other ninjas. "Idiot, why did you go attack him head on like that? No, to defeat a brat like him you have to attack from afar," another of the Jounin said, going through hand signs. Naruto's eyes widened. He knew he couldn't survive another set of earth dragons. Putting his trench knife away, Naruto pulled out a Hiraishin kunai, getting gasps from some of the Iwa ninjas. Naruto threw the kunai and went through hand signs. "Kage kunai no jutsu, shadow kunai technique," Naruto shouted. Instantly the one kunai turned into 50. The Iwa ninjas didn't have time to think before the kunais dug into them. The Chunins were not able to move in time, but some of the more experienced Jounins were able to quickly jump out of the way, avoiding being stabbed. Naruto smirked when he saw the Jounins jump away, avoiding the kunai barely. Naruto disappeared in a yellow flash, cutting down the rest of the Iwa ninjas. He finished the last one, who was wearing a hood, by stabbing him in the stomach. Naruto pulled the Hiraishin kunai out of the hooded Jounin, letting the man fall to the floor. Naruto placed the kunai back in his pouch and turned around. However, what he didn't expect was for the hooded Jounin to grab his ankle, stopping him from moving. Naruto prepared to pull out his trench knife, but was stopped at the sound of laughter. "Well, I've got to say, you really are the son of the Yondaime Naruto," the Jounin said, making Naruto's eyes widen. "Aono." Naruto's voice trembled as he removed the hood. Once Naruto saw the white hair, he started to visibly shake. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean." Naruto was cut off by Aono. "It's alright, Naruto, you were just doing your job like I was. I knew the moment I met you that you were the son of the Yondaime. Even though I hated your father, I decided to get to know you before I decided whether I hated you or not, but at the end of the night I don't why, but I saw you as a friend, I still do. Your parents would be proud to have a son like you. I know I would. Goodbye." And Naruto, Aono said as his head dropped and his eyes turned lifeless. Naruto knew he would remember this day for the rest of his life. He had killed his friend, and for the first time since his parents had died, Naruto cried, unaware. A one-armed Jounin ran off back to Iowa. End of flashback. Naruto was still looking up in the air as he told his story to Kurenai. His eyes showed sorrow. Kurenai looked sadly at Naruto. She never knew what was affecting him so much when it came to Iowa. Moving on impulse, Kurenai laid her head on Naruto's shoulder and sighed, ignoring the slight pink tinge on her cheeks. Naruto stiffened slightly when he felt Kurenai rest her head on his shoulder but quickly relaxed. Taking a quick side glance at the red-eyed Jounin, he smiled. You can't blame yourself for stuff like that, Naruto-kun, or you'll just end up like Kakashi, Kurenai said, making Naruto look at her strangely, but smiled. And what's wrong with a Nikki, Naruto said, grinning. Kurenai smiled at Naruto, knowing he was playing well for one. He's a pervert, Kurenai said, giggling, causing Naruto to let out a small laugh. Both Naruto and Kurenai stayed there for hours just watching the stars. However, eventually Kurenai decided enough was enough and decided she was too tired. Taking her head off Naruto's shoulder, she stood up, bending down. She gave Naruto a quick kiss on the cheek. "Good night, Naruto-kun," Kurenai said, leaving a heavily blushing Naruto. Naruto looked at Kurenai's retreating form and smiled. "Thank you, Kurenai, you don't realize how much you have done for me. I also don't think you realize how impossible it is for me not to love you," Naruto thought as he spent a couple more hours on the roof before heading to bed. It had been a week since Team 7 and 8 had entered Wave Country, a week since Naruto had beat Zabuza. Now, however, everyone but Kakashi was at the bridge, watching Tazuna add the finishing touches to his bridge. The Genins were helping Tazuna any way they could, as most of Tazuna's workers had quit as they feared for their lives. Kurenai was also watching the Genins perform the tasks Tazuna was giving them. She found it slightly amusing, especially when she had heard Sakura say she didn't want to do anything and risk getting her hands dirty. Kurenai had immediately stepped in and told her it was the least she could do since Tazuna had allowed them all to stay at his house. Sakura agreed but still complained. Looking over to the side of the bridge, Kurenai saw Naruto sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed. He had been meditating all morning. She couldn't help notice after their encounter on the roof, Naruto had come back to his usual self. A little she hated to think Naruto would let something like that destroy him. However, her thoughts were cut loose when a large cloud of thick mist started to cover the air. Looking over to Naruto, her eyes widened when she saw Naruto missing. She jumped, however, when she saw Naruto in front of her looking across the bridge. Suddenly, two figures appeared from out of the mist. The Genins immediately jumped behind Naruto and Kurenai. Sasuke was beginning to shake as the killing intent increased. "Well, would you look at that, your little Genin is shaking in fear again, Konoha no Kairoi Sendo," Zabuza said, trying to get Naruto angry. However, Naruto smirked. His smirk stayed on even when he saw Zabuza's Mizubunshin surround them. Sasuke stepped forward, also smirking. "I'm not shaking because I'm scared, I'm shaking in excitement," Sasuke said while looking at Naruto. Naruto nodded to Sasuke. "Go ahead, Sasuke, show them what you've got." Sasuke nodded and instantly all the water clones were destroyed. Zabuza looked slightly impressed at the young Genin. "Haku, I believe you should take this one," Zabuza said, looking towards the fake hunter Nin. "Yes, Zabuza-sama," Haku said, rushing at Sasuke, kicking him back. Naruto went to move, was suddenly blocked by Zabuza. Naruto looked at Sasuke fighting Haku. He was holding his own for now, looking back at the rest of the Genin. "Alright, you four," Naruto said, looking at the rest of the Genin. "I want you to protect Tazuna-san. Kurenai, I will take Zabuza. If anything happens to me, it will be up to you to finish Zabuza, understood?" Naruto said, now looking at the red-eyed Jonin. A serious expression shone clearly on his face. Kurenai, even though scared at the thought of Naruto dying, she nodded her head at getting a smile from Naruto. "Okay, Zabuza prepared to be destroyed," Naruto said, immediately disappearing from the spot he was in and roundhouse kicked Zabuza off the bridge. Kurenai and all the Genin were watching with wide eyes. "That seal has made you possibly the fastest shinobi alive, Naruto-kun," Kurenai thought while staring in awe at the speed Naruto showed. The Genins weren't holding up any better either. The speed Naruto was showing now made the speed he showed when he first fought Zabuza look like nothing. Holy crap, that was awesome, the Genins thought, watching Naruto stand up to his full height again and glare at where Zabuza had been launched off the bridge. Alright, those of you who are wondering why I am not mentioning Sasuke's fight with Haku, it's because it happens exactly the same way it did in the show. "You can come out now, or are you too scared, Zabuza-chan?" Naruto said, smirking when he saw Zabuza appear on the bridge filled with rage. "I'm going to kill you," Zabuza shouted, raising his giant sword over his head and running at Naruto at full speed, surprising everyone but Naruto. "Is that it?" Naruto thought, unimpressed at the speed Zabuza was showing. Faster than a blink of an eye, Naruto disappeared yet again. Zabuza's eyes widened when he felt a pain in his stomach. Looking down, he gasped when he saw Naruto had vanished faster than he could see and had punched him in the stomach. Naruto, using Zabuza's startled state, had grabbed the swordman's head and smashed it off his knee, breaking his nose and sending him flying back. Zabuza bounced and scraped his body off the floor before eventually stopping on the ground. Naruto stared at the figure of Zabuza as the famed demon of the mist struggled to stand up. "Give up, Zabuza, you can't win and you know it," Naruto said, walking slowly towards Zabuza. He stopped, however, at the sudden burst of killer intent, quickly snapping his head to the giant ice prison Haku had created. Naruto started to panic when he saw the red chakra. "Oh god, no, has the seal broke? No, it can't have. Two-san would have made sure it wouldn't break that easy," Naruto thought, giving Kurenai a nod as they were the only two who knew about Kakashi being a Jinchuriki. Turning back to Zabuza, Naruto had decided enough was enough. Holding out his hand, it became immediately covered with lightning, disappearing again and reappearing in front of the swordsman. Naruto plunged his hand back and thrusted it forward. Chidori, Naruto shouted. Blood splashed onto Naruto's face, and his eyes widened when he saw his hand sticking through Haku's chest. Haku grabbed hold of Naruto's arm, stopping him from moving. "Now Zabuza-sama, finish him off," Haku said while coughing out blood. Zabuza smirked as he went to slice his cleaver through Haku to get to Naruto. Thinking fast, Naruto chucked one of his Hiraishin kunais away from Zabuza. As Zabuza's giant blade was about to make contact, Naruto disappeared in a yellow flash with Haku. Naruto appeared where he had thrown his kunai, looking at the dead Haku, who was smiling. Naruto couldn't help but feel sorry for the boy. He was about a year younger than Naruto, yet here he was dead. "I'm sorry," Naruto said, placing Haku down and shutting his eyes. Naruto snapped his head forward, sending a glare to Zabuza that could even make the Kyuubi back down. "You bastard," Naruto said, standing up, taking both of his trench knives out, all the while still glaring at Zabuza. "No more," Naruto muttered, slowly walking to Zabuza. The giant swordsman flinched at the look in Naruto's eyes. Pulling himself together, Zabuza ran at Naruto, preparing to strike the blonde Jonin down. Faster than anyone could see, Naruto slice Zabuza's arm, making it fall limp. Acting fast, Naruto did the same to the other arm, making Zabuza's arms useless. As Naruto prepared to land the final blow, the sound of clapping stopped the trench knives slicing Zabuza's throat by mere inches. Well, what do we have here?" The demon of the mist defeated. "Oh, and look at this," Gato said as he and an army of thugs came with him. Gato stepped on the Haku's face, getting a growl from Takashi. "What are you doing here, Gato?" Zabuza asked, getting a laugh from Gato. "Please, Zabuza, you didn't really think I was going to pay you," Gato said, kicking Haku in the face. "That was for breaking my arm, you little brat." Zabuza turned to Naruto after hearing Gato. "Looks like we are no longer enemies anymore." Namikaze. Both Naruto and Zabuza nodded to each other, both knowing what Zabuza was going to do. "Hey kid," Zabuza said, facing Takashi, "pass me one of your kunais." Takashi threw a kunai in which Zabuza caught in his mouth. Zabuza took off, ignoring the slashes he received from Gato's thugs, and made his way to Gato himself, slicing at Gato's throat. Zabuza watched as the short chubby man's head rolled off his shoulders, finally letting his wounds catch up to him. Zabuza fell to the ground. Suddenly the townspeople came loaded with pitchforks, knives and anything they could get their hands on. Naruto smiled as he saw Inari at the front, looking towards Takashi. Naruto couldn't help but smile, knowing that only one person could make people change like that. Naruto walked towards Zabuza after the villagers had chased out the bandits and kneeled down to the body. Zabuza looked up and grinned slightly. "Namikaze, take me to Haku please." Naruto nodded, picking up Zabuza and placed him next to Haku. Naruto sighed as he saw Zabuza's eyes turn lifeless. Turning around to get a look at everyone, he smiled when he saw Sakura crushing Sasuke to death. Naruto turned when he felt a hand on his shoulder, smiling again before letting his hand go through his long golden hair. "I need a vacation that doesn't involve nearly being killed," Naruto said, getting a giggle out of Kurenai. "Yeah, but then you would just moan about the fact no one was trying to kill you," Kurenai said, getting a small laugh from Naruto. "Yeah, well, I don't think I'd be able to cope if my life was boring, but right now I just want to go to sleep," Naruto moaned out. "Oh come on you big baby," Kurenai said, laughing at Naruto. 1 week later. Team 7 and 8 were about to leave the land of waves and were giving one last goodbye to the villagers who had came to greet them, waving at the people as the two Konoha teams walked away. Tazuna and Inari were trying to figure out a name for the bridge. "How about the Great Takashi Bridge?" Inari said, getting a smile as he knew the young Jinchuriki was the reason his grandson was happy again. "Okay, the Great Takashi Bridge it is," Tazuna shouted, getting roars of approval from everyone. Both Konoha teams were now walking back through Fire Country again, sighing in happiness to be back. Naruto turned his head to the Genins. "I just want to say you all did a good job, but I don't think we'll be doing another mission like that again," Naruto said, turning back, not noticing the small smile Kurenai held. Chapter 5. AN, Author's Notes. Speech Character Voices. Thoughts Character Thoughts. Speech Ba Summon, Demon Voice or Jutsus. Thoughts Ba Summon or Demon Thoughts. Walking throughout the forest of Fire Country, two Konoha teams could be found on their way home from an extremely taxing C-A rank mission. As they approached an opening from the forest, Naruto smiled at the sight of the gates of Konoha. "Home, sweet home," Naruto shouted. He was soon joined by Takashi and Kiba, also shouting about how good it was to be home again. Takashi, however, was more excited to be able to have ramen. Tsunami's cooking was fine and all, but it was no ramen. Takashi had a huge smile as they came closer to the gate. He had enjoyed the time in Wave, but Konoha was his home. However, Haku had taught him a very important lesson, that one could only get strong when they were fighting for their precious people. Looking back at the rest of the group, Takashi smiled. He had formed more bonds, even though Kiba still viewed him as a weakling. They both enjoyed arguing with each other. But Sasuke, they had both trained together and had become quite close, even up to the point he wouldn't finish his last name with team. He had also formed a bond with Hinata at first. It was just Hinata telling him what he was doing wrong while trying to climb the tree. She had also told him about her family. He frowned when he thought of the way her family treated her for not being as strong as her younger sister. However, he had cheered her up a few times, telling her some of the pranks he had done on the Hyugas. Hiba had changed slightly since leaving the village. Before he had left, he had no respect for any of Team 7 except for Naruto, but now he was beginning to respect Kakashi more, but he was still a weakling in his eyes. Sasuke was also happy to be home. He had bonded with Kakashi when both he and Kakashi were the last to be able to do the tree walking exercise. He had even jumped in front of an attack to save Kakashi. When the two of them were left to complete the tree climbing exercise, it reminded him of the time he had trained with his brother. Angry at the last thought, Sasuke continued to brood as they approached the village gates. Hinata smiled at Takashi's enthusiasm to get back into the village. She had become a little more confident when talking to Takashi over the last week. She was still shy when it came to speaking, but she didn't stutter when talking as much now. Sakura had not changed really. She was however slightly feeling depressed since she had barely spent any time with her Sasuke, and Takashi had even stopped asking her out as much. She looked at the gate and sighed happily. Maybe now they were back in Konoha things would go back to normal. Shino hadn't changed either. However, he was starting to respect Takashi a little more. Even though he was the dead last, he had somehow managed to defeat an high Chuunin level ninja. Naruto had also appeared more happy ever since Kurenai had talked to him on the roof. He was starting to blame himself less for his mistakes that happened with the Iwa ninja. He had decided to leave his Super Saiyan seal off his body, felt extremely light and stronger. Smiling as he looked at the genin in front of him, he couldn't help but feel proud at their progress. The only one that was falling behind was Sakura, but she made up for it with her intelligence and chakra control. He had wondered whether he would introduce her to medical ninjutsu. He had also noticed Takashi and Sasuke opening up a bit more. Maybe Itachi's brother isn't so bad, Naruto thought, finally looking at Kurenai, who was looking on at the gates with an emotionless expression. However, Naruto could see the slight twitch in her lips when she got closer to the gate. Kurenai was in one word happy. She was going to be able to get back to her own bed and just sleep. She was also happy that her plan of playing Cupid was starting to work, even if it was still too early to tell. She could see that Hinata was becoming more confident around Takashi. She looked over to Naruto. She smiled at the time she had spent with Naruto. He was everything she wanted in a man: handsome, strong, funny, caring and understanding. The time spent away from the village had only made her feelings for Naruto increase. In fact, when it came to dating, she wouldn't even consider it unless the person she was dating had spiky blonde hair, blue eyes, and had the name Naruto. She had however been too frightened to ask Naruto about his feelings for her. In case she was rejected, she was hoping that Naruto would tell her first, but then it came to the fact she was 6 years older than him. It wasn't much of an age difference, but it was enough to make her feel insecure. As they all walked through the gate, the genins turned to look at Naruto and Kurenai. Okay, you three can have the rest of the day off, but Tomorrow I want you at training ground 7. No, Naruto said. Hi sensei, the three genins said. Takashi immediately ran to Ichiraku for some ramen. Sakura smiled at the thought of Takashi out of the picture and the possibility of going on a date with Sasuke. Sasuke-kun, do you want to go on a date? She asked, making Naruto slap his forehead. No, Sasuke replied, walking off, leaving a depressed Sakura to walk home. Sweat dropping at the scene, Kurenai turned to her genin team. Teammate, you are dismissed. You can have the rest of the day off, but training will commence at 7 in the morning, Kurenai said, getting nods from the three. Both Naruto and Kurenai raised the eyebrows, however, when they saw Hinata run in the same direction as Takashi. Time for the boring stuff, right, Kurenai-chan, Naruto said, looking at the red-eyed Jonin while smiling, giggling at his sudden childish attitude. Hi, but I do believe Hokage-sama will flip when hears you have beaten one of the 7 swordsmen, Kurenai said as they began to walk through the village, ignoring some of the curious looks they were getting. As Naruto and Kurenai made it to the Hokage's office, Naruto smiled. He had missed the old man, even if he was a pervert. Team 7 and 8 reporting in, protect bridge builder Tazuna, C rank turned A rank complete, Naruto said, letting the information sink in. What? Naruto sighed while Kurenai slightly smirked. Naruto then began to tell them about the mission up to the point where he had felt the Kyuubi's chakra, getting a surprised look from the old Hokage and slight scowls from his advisors. Is the seal broken? Naruto-kun Hiruzen asked, deadly serious, showing exactly why he was named the god of shinobi. No, I believe my 2-sen had intentionally made it so Takashi can tap into the Kyuubi's chakra, Naruto said, also as serious. The Sandaime let out the breath he had been holding in. That's good to hear. Jiraiya will be back in the village soon. I will get him to take a look at it. Deciding not to argue over whether the Hokage was doubting his sealing skills, Naruto nodded. He was happy that his perverted godfather was coming back. I would watch out Naruto-kun, the hunter nins will be angry at you for beating Zabuza. I heard they had quite a high bet in who was going to get him. Hiruzen chuckled at Naruto's expression after several seconds. Naruto just shrugged it off, muttering something about stupid browless swordsman getting him in trouble. While you are both here, there will be a meeting in 1 week involving all the Jounins. I expect you two to be there. Both Naruto and Kurenai nodded. Good, take the rest of the day off. But don't do anything I won't do, especially you Naruto-kun. Hiruzen chuckled pervertedly, making both Naruto and Kurenai blush, and walk out, leaving a satisfied Hiruzen. It had been a while since he had embraced Naruto like that. You remind me so much of Minato, but I still see the Kushina in you. It's a shame you were forced to grow up so fast. I wonder what Jiraiya will do when he finds out about your crush on Kurenai. If I play my cards right, I could be reading a new Icha book. Hiruzen thought, a perverted grin on his face. Ichiraku's. Mizo ramen please, old man, Takashi said cheerfully. The old ramen stand owner walked out of the kitchen and smiled. Unlike most of the village, Tucci saw Takashi as the jailer, so he didn't have a problem with the young Jinchuriki. Ah, it's good to see you again, Takashi-kun. I was worried you were never going to come back, Tucci said, giving the order to his daughter Am. Yeah, sorry about that, I was kind of on a mission outside the village, Takashi said, scratching his head sheepishly. Takashi was about to tell Tucci about the mission, but was interrupted by the presence of Hinata. Hello Takashi-kun, Hinata said, blushing slightly. Takashi raised his eyebrows when he saw her blush. Are you okay, Hinata-chan? You're turning red. Do you have a fever? Takashi asked cluelessly. Hinata turned her head to stop herself from fainting and ordered up, unaware of a chuckling pair in the kitchen. Kurenai's apartment. Both Kurini and Naruto had decided that they would talk about the mission now. Since the Genins weren't around, they could talk more openly about certain events. Opening the door to the apartment, both Naruto and Kurenai went wide-eyed at the sight in front of them, as there stood a naked Kakashi and a naked Anko who was bent over the chair. When the naked couple looked to the door, they immediately looked like two deers caught in the headlights. Nah, Naruto K. Kurenai, Kakashi stuttered, quickly putting his clothes back on. Anko, however, unshamefully stood up, letting her large breasts bounce, and walked to where she had thrown her clothes off. I think we should leave, Naruto-kun, Kurenai said, blushing, looking away from the now half-naked couple. Naruto nodded his head. He was showing blush rivaling Kurenai's at the sight. Just as they were about to turn and walk away, the sound of Kakashi's voice stopped the two. Wait, you don't have to go, we were finished anyway, right, Anko? Kakashi said, putting his Jounin flak jacket back on. Kakashi looked towards Anko for confirmation. Anko snorted, obviously upset that her and Kakashi's fun time had been ended. Yeah, whatever, so when did you two get back? Anko asked, going over to the sink and pouring herself a glass of water. Naruto and Kurenai sat down on the chair opposite of Kakashi. Well, we just got back, really, it's been a long week, Naruto sighed. Kurenai nodded in agreement. Anko, however, opened the window to get rid of the strong smell of sex in the air. Turning around, she smirked at Naruto and Kurenai. Oh god, that smirk is never good, Naruto and Kurenai thought, closely watching Anko. Suo, did you two know? Anko said, smiling at Naruto and Kurenai's blushing face. No. They both shouted, making Anko just laugh. She enjoyed the teasing. Was the mission a success? Kakashi asked, trying to change the subject, getting small smiles from Kurenai and Naruto, thankful to get off the subject. Naruto nodded. Oh yeah, the mission was a success, alright, but it was also an A-rank, Naruto said, getting confused looks from the Anko and Kakashi. Sighing, Naruto and Kurenai began to tell them about the mission. When Kurenai had told the two Naruto had beaten Zabuza in battle, both Anko and Kakashi were stunned. Kakashi himself didn't even know if he could take Zabuza, and for Naruto to do it at his age was outstanding. It's been 4 years since we last sparred, Naruto, how strong have you gotten? Kakashi thought while smiling at his little brother in everything but blood. After they had finished the story, the four began to just talk about what Anko and Kakashi had done. Naruto laughed when he had heard that Anko had dragged Kakashi from the memorial stone to the date they had planned. Deciding it was time to leave and let Kurenai get some sleep, Naruto stood up from his chair. Well, I think I'm gonna head off. I'm going to use the rest of the day to get some sleep. God help me, I'm going to need it. Having Takashi, Sasuke and Sakura as one Genin team was the worst idea ever. Naruto complained. It wasn't that he hated the three, it was just they could never get along. Yeah, I think I'm going to head off too. Now you're back, I'll have to teach Sasuke again. Kakashi moaned. He didn't mind teaching Sasuke since he was the last loyal Uchiha in Obito's family, but he was too greedy and stuck up for Kakashi's liking. So you're just going to leave me now, eh? Anko playfully pouted. Well, I guess I can forgive you this time, she said, walking over to Kakashi and removing his face mask so only she could see, and kissed him on the lips. See you later, Kaka-kun. Anko whispered in Kakashi's ear, making Kakashi smile and tell her he would see her later. Alright, you two finish it up, Naruto said, waiting at the door impatiently. He was caught off guard by the kiss on the cheek by Kurenai. See you later, Naruto-kun, she said, a slight pink tinge on her cheeks. Naruto, however, smiled and nodded. As Naruto and Kakashi left, both Anko and Kurenai smiled at their retreating figures. Sighing, Kurenai turned towards Anko. "I think I'm ready to answer your question now, Anko-chan," Kurenai said, getting a surprised look from the snake mistress. "Oh really, Nai-chan, and what is your answer?" Anko asked. "Yes, I do feel something for Naruto-kun. In fact, I think I'm in love with him," Kurenai said, smiling as she walked into her room, leaving a happy Anko. As she shut the door to her room, she let out a happy sigh. Making her way to the bathroom to take a shower. Sighing happily again as she entered the shower, Kurenai let the hot water hit her body and moved her hands over her body. She had always prided herself on her body, since she had always kept it in shape, since she was a serious kunoichi after all. However, even though she prided herself on her body, she never used it to gain any attention on purpose anyway. She wondered if Naruto would ever feel the same way as she did about him. Thinking of Naruto made her smile. As she roamed her hands through her hair, she couldn't help but think about all the time they had spent together. Even though she was a serious kunoichi, she still had feelings. She just preferred not to show them to people she did not know. If somebody told me 6 years ago that I would fall in love with Naruto, I would have probably laughed, but now he's just grown on me. I love everything about him, his little annoying habits, his personality. It amazes me how 1 minute he can be the most carefree guy in the world and the next the most serious and strongest person I have ever met, Kurenai thought while finishing her shower. After taking a shower, Kurenai got dressed into her nightgown and laid down onto her bed ever so slowly. Kurenai eventually drifted off to sleep, dreaming about her favorite blonde. Naruto and Kakashi walked their way through the village. Both of them talked about the training Naruto was giving his team. "So their teamwork's that bad, huh?" Kakashi asked as they walked home to the Naruto's house that he had inherited of his mother and father. "Well, at first yes, but I can see Sasuke trying to open up to them," Naruto said, getting an eye smile from Kakashi. "Yeah, but Sasuke wants power more than anything, and from what I hear Takashi's getting really good. You better hope Sasuke doesn't get jealous," Kakashi said, getting a serious nod from Naruto. As Naruto made it to his house, Kakashi had told him that the council had ordered him to train Sasuke in the Sharingan and any jutsu he may ask for. Naruto scowled at the council's thinking, but left Kakashi to train the Uchiha and go into his house. Naruto sighed as he entered his house. "Damn, I'm tired. The Chuunin exams should be coming soon. Maybe that's what the Jonin meeting is going to be about," Naruto mused as he made his way to his room. Once he made it to his room, Naruto fell straight onto the bed, quickly drifting off to sleep. Naruto woke up the next day at 6 in the morning completely refreshed. He had an hour before he would have to meet his team. Sighing, he went towards the bathroom and get ready for the day. After 20 minutes, Naruto emerged from the bathroom with a towel wrapped around him, his hair that was still wet from the shower covering his eyes. Going over to his wardrobe, Naruto picked out his usual mesh top, black top, Jonin jacket, black bottoms, and finished with white socks and black sandals. Walking over the table next to his bed to pick up his forehead protector, Naruto sighed sadly as he looked at the picture on the table. It was a picture of him at 3 years old, sat on his father's shoulders. They were both showing huge identical smiles. His mother was laughing at the duo as they all walked down the streets of Konoha. Looking at the next picture, Naruto smiled. It was a picture of him, Kakashi, Anko and Kurenai laughing. Finally looking at his last picture, Naruto let out a small laugh. It was the picture he had took with his genins. Naruto had his hands on both Takashi and Sasuke's head while the two glared at each other and Sakura stood in the middle smiling. "They're not so bad. Well, I better set off. I don't want them moaning about me being late," Naruto thought, disappearing in a yellow flash. Across town, two women were talking about a certain blonde-haired Jonin. "Come on, Nai-chan, tell him," Anko whined at Kurenai as they sat at the table in their kitchen drinking coffee. Kurenai ignored her Anko as she took another sip of her coffee. "No, Anko-chan, I can't. Besides, I doubt he thinks of me like that," Kurenai said, saying the last part sadly. Anko sighed at Kurenai. She wanted to tell her so much Naruto did feel the same way, but she promised Naruto she wouldn't tell Kurenai how he felt about her. Naruto was one of the very few people Anko trusted in and was the same the other way around, and to break that trust would kill her. "Argo right, Nai-chan, but I would tell him how you feel. Besides, what's the worst that could happen?" Anko asked, standing up, putting her cup in the sink. Kurenai sighed. She was not in the mood for this and she was already running late to meet her genin team. "Well, for one, it would be humiliating when he turns me down, and also I'm 6 years older than he is. Looks it's better if I just avoid him for now. Maybe in time my feelings will disappear," Kurenai said sadly as she also put her cup in the sink and walked towards the door. She knew she was lying to herself. Even the reason she had said didn't bother her. If anything, she could get over being turned down. It was more over the fact if things didn't work out, they would probably end up hating each other, and that was something she could not deal with. Naruto was one of the very few people she trusted and would proudly call a friend. Most people she would just call work associates. "He wouldn't care about that. If anything, I think he would give you a chance," Anko said, hoping her friend would just take the hint. When she got no answer, she turned around to see an open door and no Kurenai. Sighing, Anko prepared for her day at work, torturing people with a bicky. You're only hurting yourself, Kurenai Anko thought as she left the apartment. Training Ground 7. Naruto appeared in the middle of the training ground. Looking around, Naruto soon found the 3 genin sleeping under a tree. Going through hand seals, Naruto shouted. Tsuruiden no Jutsu Water Dragon Projectile Technique. Naruto let formed a small water dragon which began to hover above the 3 sleeping genins. Ahhhh, the 3 screamed as the freezing water hit them. Naruto quickly turned around and whistled, pretending not to notice. The sudden killing intent made Naruto turn around and smile. Alright, I know I'm a little late, but come on, we're here to train, Naruto said, calming the 3 down. Ninjutsu? Kakashi asked. He had hoped that Naruto would start to teach him some ninjutsu since Sasuke already had some in his arsenal. No, Kakashi, not yet. I will start teaching you ninjutsu when I think you are ready. Right now, however, we will continue with your taijutsu and chakra control. Naruto said it wasn't that he didn't want to teach him ninjutsu, it was that he had to correct the flaws Kakashi had in his taijutsu and chakra control that he had gained since he was not taught properly in the academy due to the biased teachers. Naruto himself had only taught them all the same, much to the civilian council's displeasure. Oh, but Naruto-sensei, Kakashi pleaded. Naruto smiled. He liked training Kakashi. He had planned to teach him elemental ninjutsu when he had made Chuunin was, or at least Chuunin material. Deciding to give him a chance, Naruto put his hands in a cross shape. Page Bunshin no Jutsu Shadow Clone Technique, Naruto said immediately. An exact replica appeared next to Naruto. Okay Kakashi, if you can beat my shadow clone, I'll teach you a cool jutsu, Naruto said, making the young boy jump up and down excitedly. Page Bunshin no Jutsu Shadow Clone Technique, Kakashi shouted, creating loads of shadow clones which instantly started attacking Naruto's clone. Naruto's clone dodged effortlessly, ducking and jumping all the punches and kicks Kakashi's clone sent at him. Not bad, he's definitely getting better, Naruto thought, quickly going on the offense by slicking his way through all the clones until the real Kakashi was left. You're getting better, but you still have a way to go, Kakashi, Naruto said, displaying his clone. Kakashi smiled at the praise. He really liked having Naruto as a sensei. He never shouted at him and always explained stuff to him whenever he had asked. He had began to view Naruto in the same light as Iruka. They had both helped him and was extremely grateful to have been given Naruto as his sensei. Okay, now that's settled, you 3 will run around the village 5 times, understood? Naruto asked, getting complaints from the 3, however, sending a lot of killing intent at the 3. They immediately backed down and agreed. After the first lap round, Sakura had collapsed on the floor panting for breath, while Kakashi and Sasuke had continued to run round. The 2 had made it into a contest to see who could do it faster. You know, I'm sure I asked you to run around 5 times, Naruto said with a smile, making Sakura gulp and try come up with an excuse. Naruto put up his hand to silence her. Don't worry Sakura, I'm not going to yell at you, besides I have an idea, Naruto said, confusing the girl. Naruto sighed. He had been putting this off for too long. Sakura, what I'm about to say is not because I hate you or anything like that, it is because I know there is more to you. Sakura nodded. She didn't like the way this was going. Right now Sakura, you are probably the weakest out of all the rookies you graduated with, Naruto said seriously. But Takashi Baka was the dead last. He's the weakest, Sakura shouted, tears starting to form. No Sakura, Takashi has improved far more than any of your graduation class. Sakura, I'm not saying these things to be mean. Have you ever considered medical ninjutsu? Your excellent chakra control would make you the perfect candidate, Naruto said, earning a wide-eyed Sakura. Are you trying to get rid of me? Sakura asked, trembling with fear. No, you will not be leaving Team 7. I believe with your skills you could become a fine medic nin, and besides this way you can help Takashi and Sasuke a lot more, Naruto said, surprising the girl. Sakura had been feeling useless ever since the wave mission. All she could do was stand there and protect the client while her sensei battled a famous missing nin and her 2 teammates had battled a very strong opponent. Now however she had a chance to help her team. Smiling, Sakura nodded. Naruto-sensei, I would like to become a medic nin, Sakura said with determination. Naruto smiled. He was expecting her to yell about not being with Sasuke, but he also knew that the mission to wave had affected her. But after today's session you go to the hospital, they will begin your training. You will be a member of Team 7, so don't worry, okay, Naruto asked. Yes, Naruto-sensei, she said as the 2 of them watched both Takashi and Sasuke collapse from exhaustion. Well, you all did great today, but I want you here Tomoro at the same time as today, Naruto said, and sweat dropped when he saw Takashi and Sasuke asleep. You go ahead Sakura, I'll take these 2 home. Sakura nodded and ran towards the direction of the hospital. Creating a shadow clone, Naruto picked up Takashi and Sasuke and carried them to their respective homes. As Naruto began to walk down the streets of Konoha, he saw Kurenai walking towards her apartment. Hello Kurenai-chan, Naruto shouted. He was surprised when Kurenai never turned around and just continued to walk into her apartment. Naruto looked at the door Kurenai had went into for a couple of seconds, deciding to just let her have her space. Whatever he had done wrong, he would make sure to apologize to her as he walked back to his house. Unaware to Naruto the moment Kurenai had walked into her room, she had fell to the floor and sobbed. She would always show her professional side while outside or talking to people, however, the moment she had heard Naruto shout, she almost let her emotional mask slip. She had just managed to make it to her apartment before sobbing she loved the man, but was so scared she had no idea what to do. Picking herself back up, Kurenai undressed and went to the shower and quickly went to bed. She was definitely glad Anko was staying at Kakashi's, since for the rest of the night she had cried herself asleep. 1 week later. Naruto sighed sadly. Today was not a good day. He had been up earlier than usual. During the last week Naruto had been getting less and less sleep. He had been worrying why Kurenai was ignoring him. It seemed she would only talk to him when she had no choice, and even then it was nothing but one-word answers. Trying to think on the brighter side, Naruto smiled at the thought of his Jonin team. Sasuke and Takashi were coming along nicely. Even Sakura had been getting better. She had signed up to the hospital and had begun her training. She would be able to heal most cuts and injuries, but she was still miles away before she would be even close to Tsunade. Naruto Hiruzen shouted. Naruto shook his head as looked around. He saw all the Jounins looking at him slightly amused. "Can you say something?" Naruto asked. Guy fell over crying and muttering something about his and Kakashi's hip attitude, while most of the Jounin snickered. Hiruzen's eyebrows twitched. Naruto was acting far too much like Kakashi for his liking. Calming himself down, the Hokage continued. "Yes, as I was saying, the Chuunin exams will be hosted in Konoha. This will be a good chance to gain new missions and give Konoha a better name, so anyone who would like to nominate their teams, go right ahead," Hiruzen said, waiting for a Jounin to step forward. He smiled when he saw the first Jounin step forwards. I, Naruto Namikaze, nominate Team 7 containing Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno and Takashi Kazama for the Chuunin exams, Naruto said, getting a quick nod from the god of shinobi. Haruka, who had been watching the whole thing, was wondering if he should make his opinions heard for Team 7. He had taught them all at the academy and knew what they could do. However, he also knew Naruto. He knew Naruto would train the three evenly, but to think that they were all Chuunin level, that was questionable. Asuma, seeing Naruto enter his team, went into competition mode. He too had noticed Kurenai ignoring Naruto. At first he was happy, since it meant he could get her, but he had noticed an extreme difference. When he had asked Kurenai out, she had literally told him to fuck himself and go away. Ever since then, he had kept his distance. It seemed why ever Kurenai was ignoring Naruto, it was making her angry. I assume Saratobi nominate Team 10 containing Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akimichi and Ino Yamanaka for the Chuunin exams. Truthfully, he knew the only one who had any chance of promotion on his team was Shikamaru, but hey, if he had the chance to make Naruto look bad, why not? Kurenai sighed sadly. She had not planned on speaking, since she could not bear to have Naruto look at her with his beautiful blue eyes. It melted her, and she was not going to break down in front of everyone. However, her Jonin team shouldn't have to suffer because of her. She had thought several times in the last week, even though she wasn't sure if any of her team would get promoted, it would be good experience for them nonetheless. I, Kurenai Yuhi, nominate Team 8 containing Kiba and Yuzuka, Shino Aburam and Hinata Hyuga for the Chuunin exams, Kurenai said, trying not to make eye contact with Naruto. What? Iruka shouted. These are fresh out of the academy Jonin. They are not ready for the Chuunin exams. Iruka continued to protest. Naruto narrowed his eyes. I believe we know our students' abilities better than you, Iruka, Naruto said. But I trained all of them while they were in the academy. They're not ready, especially Takashi, Iruka said. Naruto smiled inwardly. So that's your game, you're worried about Takashi, Naruto thought. Actually, Iruka, I'd say Takashi had improved the most, especially since no one is hindering his progress, Naruto said, making Iruka look down with shame. Iruka had taught Takashi stuff, but in the beginning, he was just like the rest of the teachers and ignored Takashi. Don't worry, Iruka, Takashi will be fine, Naruto said. Alright, thank you, Iruka admitted defeatedly. Well, now that's sorted out, I will move to our next topic, the protractors for the Chuunin exams. Hiruzen picked up some papers and sighed. The protractor for the first round will be Ibiki Marino, said man sighed. However, Naruto looked towards Kurenai, and for a brief second, their eyes met. Piercing azure met beautiful red. Naruto smiled. It was the first time she had looked at him properly since last week. Of course, they had both been thinking the same thing, the bet they had made. Back when things weren't so complicated, I wish she would just shout at me or something at least, then I'd know what I've done wrong, Naruto, though frowning when he saw Kurenai look away. The bet back when I wasn't completely in love with Naruto. No, I will not break down here in front of everyone. I must be strong, Kurenai thought, looking at the Hokage as he continued talking, her cold emotionless mask back on. The protractor for the second round will be Anko Mitarashi. Anko grinned. The idea of torturing some brats made the idea of being a protractor not so bad. The protractor for the third round will be Naruto Namikaze, Hiruzen said, shocking everyone. Alright, now that's sorted out, you may all L. The Hokage was about to continue, but was stopped by Naruto. Hokage-sama, does this mean I cannot train any of my Genins? Naruto asked. He knew the position of a protractor meant he wasn't allowed to train any Genin competing in the exams. I'm afraid so, Hiruzen said sadly. Naruto looked like he was about to argue back, but stopped himself and nodded. Damn fucking council, I see their game. To stop me from training Takashi they made me a protractor. Come on you old fool, you're the Hokage, your word is the law. Why are you letting them have so much power? Naruto thought he was furious. He knew Takashi wasn't well liked, but come on, this was ridiculous. He knew their game was to make Sasuke stronger than his two teammates. Of course Sasuke wasn't going to suffer, he still had his private training with Kakashi. Alright, now that's over, this meeting is dismissed, the Hokage said, standing up and leaving. Naruto looked over to find Kurenai. He frowned when he saw she had already gone. However, the sight of red and white hopping out of the window made Naruto stand up and run to the exact same window. Leaping onto the ledge, Naruto took off looking for the beautiful Jonin. Where the hell is she? Why won't she just talk to me? Damn it, Naruto thought as he ran silently on the rooftops. It was late at night, so he moved as silently as he could to stop waking anyone up. Sensing Kurenai's chakra presence, Naruto picked up the pace so to anyone watching it would just look like a yellow flash on the rooftops. What are you hiding from me, Kurenai? Said woman was running as fast as she could across the rooftops. The moment the meeting had ended, she had rushed to the window and ran. Seeing Naruto made everything too painful. She loved him, and not seeing him and talking to him had killed her. She would honestly say Naruto was her best friend, so she was torn. She either kept hiding the feelings she had from Naruto and keep going hurting both him and her, or tell him and possibly lose his friendship. She stopped, however, as she felt a presence behind her. Naruto had saw Kurenai stop and landed several feet away from her. Studying her body movements, Naruto could tell she was sad. It tore him apart to see the women of his affections like this. What's wrong, Kurenai-chan? Naruto asked, taking a step forward. Kurenai turned around and looked at the blonde in front of her. He had chased after her and was clearly worried about her. The thought itself made her heart melt. Getting slightly annoyed at her stubbornness, Naruto stepped forward again. Please tell me what's wrong, Kurenai-chan. I need to know, Naruto asked desperately. It hurt him to see her like this. I love you, she whispered, so only she heard. Naruto had heard her say something, but couldn't quite understand what she had said. What is it, Kurenai-chan? Tell me please, Naruto asked as he walked towards her until he was inches away from her. Placing his hands on her shoulder, Naruto tried talking to her again. Tell me what's the matter. Fine, I love you, god damn it. I can't get you out of my mind, so go ahead, laugh at me and tell me how pathetic I am, Kurenai shouted. She could not hold back the tears as they fell from her ruby eyes. She quickly looked down so Naruto couldn't see her cry. Naruto stared wide-eyed at the women in front of him. So this is what she was hiding. Why? Was she doing this to protect our friendship? It must have killed her. I'm sorry I didn't notice, Kurenai, Naruto thought as he brought his hands to the crying woman's chin. I love you to Kurenai-chan, and it's good know you feel the same way, since now I won't feel as guilty, Naruto said, raising the woman's head. She was about to ask him what he was doing, but was suddenly silenced by the feeling of Naruto kissing her. What if Jonin Naruto X Kurenai harem? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.